Our hero realizes he's going about it all wrong and pivots, scribbling down his new plan. Sure, this world lacks tech like phones or TVs, but who cares when magic is this freaking awesome? He throws his hands up in pure ecstasy, realizing he's finally found his absolute paradise. Growing up, his father swore they were a bloodline of true sorcerers, and as a kid, he bought it hook, line, and sinker. Especially after seeing his dad survive a brutal stabbing during a show, totally unaware it was just a clever illusion. With no real role model to guide him, he clung to the idea of magic like a lifeline. And even at 17, he desperately prayed it was real despite knowing the cold, hard truth. He begs the girl to stay and help save the black magic lab from being shut down. But she shuts him down instantly, claiming she's done hanging out with such a bunch of freaks. She smirks, asking if all mentors are this clingy or if he's actually just fallen head over heels for her. As she turns to leave, his heart stops. A car is barreling right toward her, and he lunges forward to shove her out of harm's way, taking the devastating hit himself. He wakes to the sound of a foreign tongue in a bizarre, sterile room, his mind racing as he tries to figure out where on earth he's ended up. Suddenly, he reaches out and his vision clears, only to realize he's been reborn as a tiny infant cradled in his new parents' arms. Now, part of the Marin clan, young Abel is a total prodigy, feeding himself at just 2 years old while his father beams with pride, claiming it's all thanks to their elite bloodline. A man leans over his pregnant wife, hoping their daughter grows up brilliant, while our hero, now named Abel Bellic, is just sitting there craving a bowl of ramen. As his parents pray to the marine ancestors, Abel realizes that their striking crimson eyes and snow-white hair are the true symbols of their bloodline. This land is completely foreign to him, and with zero technology in sight, he's certain he's been dropped into a brand new world. Fast forward 4 years, and Abel is fully embracing life in the Marin clan, spending his days meticulously carving wooden totems with his trusty knife. These totems aren't just toys. They're sacred magical artifacts that serve as the physical vessels for their powerful guardian deities. When Abel's mother brushes off a nasty cut, his father steps in, and with a sudden flash of light, the wound vanishes right before their eyes. Stunned, Abel demands to know what happened, and his father reveals the secret. The Marin clan masters the arts of healing, fire, water, and even doll magic. Knowing his new family wields such incredible power, Abel realizes his second chance at life is going to be anything but ordinary. The realization hits him like a truck. He can finally use magic, and as he looks at his sister Giselle, he's actually grateful for this rebirth. Little Giselle jumps on him, begging for attention, but Abel tries to stay focused on his totem carving until their father suddenly walks in. His father warns him to stop crafting totems and just be a kid, but seeing magic everywhere confirms it. He's definitely not on Earth anymore. To truly master magic, you have to build totems because in this realm, spirits dwell in every gust of wind and every ancient stone. The Marin clan were legendary living weapons of war, raised on a mountain where the very trees pulse with raw, overflowing magical energy. His father hands him a bow, declaring that hunting will forge him into a real man, even though magic has faded during a century of peace. Abel realizes that even after being reborn into a world of sorcery, his little sister is constantly slowing down his epic progress. Now that he's 7, his father demands to know his next move since the house is literally overflowing with his handcrafted totems. His mother beams as he pushes his limits, but his obsession is so intense the neighbors have officially branded him a totem maniac. At just 7 years old, he's already manifesting glowing light symbols, leaving his 5-year-old sister absolutely starstruck by his power. He masters the art of light weaving in secret, and while Giselle struggles to keep up, she promises to keep his incredible skills a total mystery. This is the peak of the magic he can master for now, and surprisingly, even his father is starting to love his dedication. In this world, a war survivor is treated like a living legend, and this is the home of the mysterious chief of Marin Village. He's a 150-year-old fossil using forbidden magic to look like a youth, and his eerie vibe sends chills down Abel and Giselle's spines. The old man offers to take Abel as his apprentice, but warns him he won't show a shred of mercy just because he's a kid. This secret training has to stay hidden to avoid a scandal. But first, the master needs to see if Abel has the burning resolve to actually pull it off. Pharaoh notices magic is making a huge comeback, and she's thrilled her grandfather's ancient wisdom is finally being put to use. When the old man thanks her for sticking up for him, she turns beet red with embarrassment. She screams that saving him was a total accident, then demands he doesn't let her grandfather down, leaving the poor boy completely baffled. And so his brutal training under the village chief kicks off. Once he masters the art of drawing magic circles, his power skyrockets. This is exactly what he's been dreaming of. He pushes himself to the limit, experimenting day and night without a wink of sleep. He finally has the power he craved in this new life. But he's working himself into a fever while dodging his overbearing father. Seriously, parents are such a headache. Our hero is determined to dive right back in the second he's done. Hungry to soak up every bit of knowledge possible. Let's face it, grinding for levels is an absolute blast. Fast forward 6 months, and the master demands to see the fruits of Abel's labor, and the boy just flashes a confident smirk and accepts the challenge. Abel ignites the glowing symbols and unleashes a massive spell, leaving the old man stunned as he realizes the kid is controlling 2 totems simultaneously. To master these totems, you have to etch magic circles onto them first. A grueling daily grind Abel tackles every morning before breakfast to reach the level of a sage. The man is stunned to see the totems spinning wildly on their own. But Abel casually drops a bombshell. He hasn't even started his real move yet. In a flash of pure power, Abel weaves a devastating wind vortex between the totems and blasts it straight through a massive tree, snapping it like a toothpick. Abel frantically apologizes for the destruction, but the man is paralyzed with shock because the totems actually dodged the blast on their own. Abel admits he overshot his power, explaining that he ditched the script and experimented until the totems started moving without a single command. With the master busy prepping for the festival, Abel reveals he actually engineered this complex magic circle himself through sheer trial and error. Tears well up in the master's eyes as he realizes his work is done, declaring that Abel has officially surpassed him and completed his training. While Abel and his sister celebrate, the master is left reeling. A kid this young creating a vortex with such insane totem control is a true magical prodigy. Hungry for more, Abel begs for advanced training, so the master points him toward the library, admitting the books there can teach him far more than he ever could. Back at the house, Abel asks to borrow the totems, and when the master asks how many, Abel reveals he'll need 3 magic circles just to haul them all away. He finally realizes that every single dream he's ever had is actually possible in this perfect new world. Abel clutches his spell-shortening staff and a massive 1 million HP potion while intensely studying his notes. The 13-year-old tells his little sister Giselle that it's go time, and the 11-year-old practically jumps for joy. Abel scans a farmer named Hans, seeing his low stats of 23 mana and 34 strength, before the 2 kids scramble away to avoid being caught. He explains that most adults only hit 20 mana points, making Giselle desperate to know what kind of magic he's using. Abel admits he's always wanted an RPG-style status screen, leaving Giselle confused while he basks in the joy of his new life. He's finally feeling like a true gaming legend, and when his sister asks for a status check, he's more than happy to oblige. With 37 mana, she's already a prodigy, and Abel realizes they must start training immediately to save their clan's failing legacy. Giselle is floored when Abel reveals his massive 865 mana, even if his physical strength is still lower than hers. She's amazed by his power, but Abel knows he's still a total amateur compared to his master as he stares at their stats. Even though he's a total shut-in, he realizes she's 4 times stronger than him, and while she's distracted by a cute flower, Abel feels a chill down his spine. Suddenly, he spots 2 boys lurking in the shadows, but he quickly realizes their eyes aren't on him. They're hunting for his sister. The moment he locks eyes with them, they bolt away screaming in terror, leaving him completely baffled as to why they're so scared. Back in his past life as a lonely wizard, he had 0 friends, but he never imagined people would treat him like a monster in this world, too. Just as the rejection starts to sting, Pharaoh appears with a warning. Rumors are spreading that Bellic's son is messing with dark, suspicious magic. Abel's actually proud of himself for talking to a stranger, and despite her hesitation, he insists on checking her hidden status. Her stats are insane for her age, boasting the power of a legendary sage and magic that rivals a full-grown adult. But here's the kicker. Her physical strength is 10 times higher than his, meaning she'd absolutely crush him in a fistfight. Realizing their father will be worried sick, Abel suddenly gets polite and apologizes, leaving her wondering why he's acting so formal all of a sudden. Their father explodes with rage, demanding to know why they're out so late, but his sister quickly steps in to take the heat. Even if he's a sage's apprentice, his father is still fuming because he's always playing with magic instead of helping around the house. But his sister wonders if his totems aren't already doing the heavy lifting. He's the only guy his age who's never been on a hunt, and at this rate, he'll never be fit to lead the family, so he finally steps up and declares he's going. Abel commits to the expedition, and his father proudly introduces him to his friends, Gali and Shibi, announcing that this is his son's very first hunt. Abel thanks them for the warm welcome, realizing that while he's seen Artie's family around, this is the first time he's actually spoken to them. He's hitting the trail to fix his weak physique, but trust me, that's not the only secret reason he's out here. His sister tearfully begs him not to overdo it, and while he promises to return quickly, he suspects a brother complex is brewing, though he secretly loves the admiration. In the Marin clan, adulthood starts at 16. And since Giselle is always glued to him, he hopes his absence pushes her to make friends and practice magic, even if he still feels like an outsider in this world. Desperate to connect with someone his own age, Abel reaches out to shake Shibi's hand, but the guy just scoffs and turns away in total disgust. Gali tries to force the interaction, and while Abel is secretly fuming, his father drops a bombshell. Magic is strictly forbidden, so he'd better master the bow to be useful. He promises to give it his all, but it's not long before he's gasping for air and begging to go home, only for his dad to explode because they've only been out for an hour. Abel flashes back to fleeing from a wild boar and realizes physical training just isn't his style. Magic is his true calling, while his father mocks him for being totally useless. Suddenly, they spot a delicious-looking parrot, and as his father readies his bow, Abel tells him to keep his eyes locked on the target. He lets the arrow fly, but it misses completely, sending the bird diving straight toward them. His dad prepares to finish the job with a knife, but Abel sees a golden opportunity to test out his unique biotype magic on the creature. Just as Gali lunges with his blade, Abel casts a sleep spell, and the bird drops out of the sky instantly. Abel explains that magic is way more efficient, deciding to keep the bird as a pet while his father stands there speechless that he cast a spell without any tools. Even though Abel is supposed to be building muscle, his father's lecture is cut short by a terrifying, thunderous noise. The ground trembles like an earthquake as heavy footsteps approach, and while Gali screams for his son to run and warn the village, Abel refuses to leave his side. Out of nowhere, a colossal great bear erupts from the woods, smashing through trees like they're toothpicks. Gali fires an arrow, but it bounces right off the beast's iron-like hide, forcing Abel to unleash his sleep magic once again. The boy thinks his plan worked, but his father sprints toward him as the bear remains wide awake and lunges for the kill. His father shoves him to safety, and as the boy sees his dad's blood spill, he's consumed by guilt for his own deadly recklessness. The dying man entrusts the family's safety to his son, who desperately tries to heal a massive hole in his father's gut while the man praises his brilliant boy. In his final moments, he finally acts like a true father, triggering a flood of memories from the protagonist's previous life. Gali blasts the beast with a torrent of fire, but it does absolutely nothing. The bear is just toying with them. Our hero focuses every ounce of his will, thrusting his hands forward as glowing ancient symbols erupt into a massive magic circle. That fur is like iron armor, so he switches tactics to razor-sharp wind blades, desperate to make this monster feel even a shred of pain. He recalibrates the spell on the fly, funneling every last drop of his mana into one final devastating strike. With a defiant smirk and absolute confidence, the boy prepares to unleash his full power on the beast. Abel knows that if he can just draw blood, the beast might retreat, silently begging the monster to back down before it's too late. He unleashes a strike so powerful it shreds the trees and scars the earth, realizing his strength is far beyond what he intended. Panic sets in as Abel remembers his dying father, rushing to his side with a slab of raw bear meat in hand. He desperately asks to use the meat, promising that his life magic has already stabilized his father's internal wounds. His father's condition is critical, forcing Abel to make a forbidden choice because there's simply no other way to save him. He activates his adaptation skill, fusing the monster meat into human flesh as his father begins to writhe in agony. This dark fusion transforms a human into a literal chimera, a procedure so controversial it's been outlawed in cities across the land. He's never used biomagic on a human before, but with his father's life on the line, he has to gamble everything. As his father falls into a deep sleep, Abel prays there are no horrific side effects, dreading the conversation he'll eventually have with his master. The terrifying thought of even bigger monsters haunts him, so he turns to Shibi, knowing they need to move immediately. Abel prepares to use his totems to haul their fathers to safety, and Shibi nods, ready to face the journey ahead. As they head out, Shibi tries to apologize, but Abel shuts it down, thanking him for being the strength he needed to survive. Shibi drops a bombshell, confessing he saw Abel as a rival for love, leaving Abel confused since Furo is the only girl he even knows. Shibi explains that Giselle is like an unreachable flower, admitting he got jealous seeing them together because their different surnames made him totally misread the situation. Abel finally clears the air, revealing that he and Giselle are actually siblings, leaving Shibi absolutely stunned. Our hero is baffled that he even has to explain this, realizing their sibling bond might be a little too close for others to understand. Shibi shoots his shot and asks to call him brother-in-law, but Abel fires back, asking if he really thinks he can get away with that. Suddenly, Abel's sister lunges at him in tears, wrapping him in a desperate hug as he marvels at the sheer power of their family bond. Abel offers a gentle smile and an apology for his late return, while his sister stares into his eyes, her face stained with tears of relief. He realizes that high-stakes adventures aren't for him, and he'd much rather spend his days at home mastering the secrets of magic. 2 years flash by in an instant, and we see a 15-year-old Abel walking with a newfound sense of confidence. 15 years have flown by in this new world, and he's only 2 years away from reaching the age he was before he died. As he gazes into the clouds, he can't stop wondering what his old comrade is doing over at the Black Magic Research Club. He knows Yae is still drowning in guilt for his past sacrifice, but he just wants her to be happy since he's living his absolute best life now. Out of nowhere, 13-year-old Giselle finally tracks down her big brother, and he gives her a casual greeting. Our protagonist stands tall, admiring a massive pillar from his latest top-tier landscaping project. Giselle is stunned by how much the totem exploded in size thanks to his magic, but Abel just smirks, even as she questions his bizarre hobby. He's obsessed with harvesting these specific leaves for his coming-of-age ritual, even though his dad is forcing him to endure a taste he absolutely hates. After learning that the flavor changes based on how they're raised, he decided to grow them himself, and Giselle really hopes he doesn't mess it up. He literally tells the totem it's time for a snack, making Giselle wonder why on earth he's talking to a piece of wood. To him, the tall and skinny totem is the spitting image of Mr. Gora, the legendary mentor who helped him start the Black Magic Research Club. This man carved out a sanctuary for him at school, giving him a name he'll treasure forever. And when his sister catches him crying, he just plays it cool and blames it on a bit of sand. Suddenly, a stranger approaches and scoffs that the rumors must be true. He really is a clueless shut-in who's never even heard of the legendary Nazwell Carlco. Our protagonist just thinks the whole situation is a massive headache, feeling like even holding a conversation is way too much work. This guy heard the headman's apprentice was cultivating a totem and showed up to offer his guidance, while Abel just plays along, thanking him for his supposed kindness. It looks like the rumors might be right. If he starts growing leaves, they'll shut him down and start demanding answers for why he's even doing this. Since the Marin clan doesn't use money, these leaves have become the ultimate currency in their bartering village, and one powerful house has completely monopolized the supply. They sent goons to spy on Abel, but he just laughs it off, insisting his totem is just a hobby, even though they warn him he's becoming a threat to his father's power. He flashes a wicked grin and suggests that this little project could actually end up making them a fortune. He turns straight to Giselle and demands she become his wife, leaving Abel absolutely floored and hoping it's just a sick joke. His friends start panicking, begging Nazwell to apologize before Abel loses it and slaughters them, but he just tells them to shut up because he's the strongest one there. When Nazwell is asked about the terrifying rumors of turning people into chimeras or totems, the protagonist is absolutely floored. He snaps back, claiming his totems can actually speak and boasting about how he slaughtered a great bear with his magical might. Nazwell scoffs at the exaggeration, dismissing the stories as mere rumors while claiming he could crush a great bear all on his own. The protagonist is mesmerized by such raw power, thrilled to finally find someone who shares his obsession with the mystic arts. Nazwell loses his temper and orders Giselle to back off, reminding everyone that he is the prestigious heir of the Carlco family. Sensing a kindred spirit, our hero tries to play it cool and polite as he turns to face Nazwell. Abel explains his sister's shyness before diving into a deep talk about totem expertise, magic circles, and the secret paints used in Hybis's theories. Nosfeld snaps in a fit of rage, lunging forward and brutally pinning the protagonist to the ground. While Abel spits sand out of his mouth, Nazgul realizes the rumors were a total sham and mocks Abel for his pathetic totem cultivation. Abel defends his methods as proven research, but Naswell sneers that the Carlco family is far too elite to ever make a mistake like that. Nosfell conjures a razor-sharp windblade and slices the hero's totem clean in two, his face twisted in pure rage. He lets out a chilling laugh while his allies bolt like cowards, leaving Noswell to demand their next showdown happen somewhere more fitting. A dark shadow falls over our hero's face, catching his sister's attention as he struggles to find the right words. Realizing the stakes, the protagonist decides to move his operation deep into the eastern forest, even as the boy calls him out for being cold-hearted. Out of nowhere, he demands the totem be carved immediately, insisting that since Giselle isn't being held captive, the work must begin. He snaps back, asking if this is a kidnapping and why he's hell-bent on destroying House Carlco when the clan's survival should be the only priority. These leaves are only rare because House Carlco rigs the market, but our hero realizes he can grow them easily if he masters his magical reserves. The village leader wants magic to be the ultimate currency, but since these leaves vanish after use, House Carlco's entire empire will crumble if the price tanks. This sparked a massive blood feud between the chief and House Carlco, and even the village leader is powerless against their overwhelming influence. His master plan is set. He's going to shatter House Carlco's political grip by mass-producing top-tier leaves without dragging the chief into the crossfire. He's dead set on tanking the value of Carlco's leaves, already visualizing the scales tipping in his favor. They demand to know how they'll pull it off, knowing that success means Giselle is forced into a marriage with the Carlco house. Nosfell was infatuated with her, but in this poetic tragedy, one of them must fall, and the boy declares this absolute madness. He swears to carve every totem necessary to win, but snaps at them to stop calling him brother-in-law as 3 days fly by. Nosbel spies through the pipe while the men nearby whisper in terror about his explosive fury and those creepy entrance totems. He recognizes the very same totem he destroyed years ago and bursts into a manic laugh when he realizes they're actually planning to attack. He calls them total idiots, mocking the fact that these weapons are just leaf-collecting scarecrows that can't hurt a fly. It's a hopeless dream because growing something this massive takes 20 high-level mages, and that totem maniac is just gonna watch them rot. They beg him to take the kid's massive power seriously, but Nosfell suspects a secret twisted scheme between the master and his pupil. He barks orders for the boys to surround the headman's house and block any magical reinforcements, and they scramble to obey. Nosfell completely underestimated Abel's true power, forgetting that 2 years ago, Abel slaughtered the Great Bear King and can now fuel 50 totems with a never-ending surge of mana. This secured a landslide victory for our hero, and just 2 weeks later, the team was basking in the glory of their success. The boy is stunned by Abel's greatness, admitting he had his doubts. But they actually pulled it off despite the constant fear that Nosfell would sabotage them. Abel credits their hard work as he sets his sights on Mountains 2 and 3. It's finally time to harvest those leaves. Meanwhile, over at the village head's estate, the guys are whispering about something suspicious. They've been watching for days, but neither the chief nor Abel has stepped outside. A furious Nosfell demands to know what's happening at the Belikov house now that his sister has left, wondering if Abel finally admitted defeat and went into hiding. Furel and her dog snap at the intruders, demanding to know why they're loitering. But Nosfell insists they're only there to track down Abel. Furiel is genuinely shocked, revealing that Abel hasn't visited in ages, while the dog's vicious growling forces the guys to back off and apologize. Nosfell scoffs at the dog, but realizes that if Furel is telling the truth, Abel isn't plotting with the chief. His totems must be useless firewood, and he's likely given up in despair. Nosfell boasts that nobody can challenge Domo Kuroko's leaf-growing skills, leaving Firo to wonder what the eldest son has been secretly plotting while lurking around the house. She senses something is deeply wrong, and even though his big coming-of-age ceremony is closing in, she knows that's not the cause of this eerie vibe. Meanwhile, over at the Balek's estate, a man exhales a cloud of smoke and marvels at how absolutely magnificent the leaves look today. He swears this stuff is on a completely different level than anything he's ever smoked, while Abel hides just around the corner, beaming with joy. The preparations are finally complete. The market is the chosen battlefield, opening the very same day as his ceremony, and he declares that the war is about to begin. Our exhausted hero groans that his clothes are way too heavy and begs Giselle to help him undress, only for Garcia to stun them both by joking that they look like a pair of newlyweds. As they tease them about a wedding date, the boy stays dead serious. And when the man wonders where his son vanished to, he finds out Abel sent him straight to the market. The man eyes the leaves, knowing a secret was being kept. but he's so impressed by the effort that he agrees to be the very first customer to test them out. He takes a hit and it's incredible, even though he expected it to taste foul based on Abel's face. But Abel just can't handle smoke. And that's when Sheba suddenly swoops in. He offers a quick apology, explaining that he thought he'd scored the perfect unclaimed spot to start setting everything up. By the time he realized his mistake, another spot had appeared, with someone screaming at the top of their lungs that they'd found the ultimate location for them. Our hero beams with pride, shouting that the job is perfect. Now they just need to sell everything before their pockets run dry. He warns that this area is a ghost town because nobody dares to cross the infamous Carlco family. Even if it's a massive gamble, they have to sell. But the boy is paralyzed with fear, realizing they're walking straight into a trap. Relax, the protagonist urges. The crowd is hungry for what we've got. And if we strike while the Carlcos are on break, we win. 10 minutes tick by in agonizing silence. Panic sets in when the street stays empty, so Abel barks at Giselle to grab those red and blue totems he crafted yesterday. Shiva demands to know what those totems are for, and he just smirks, calling them his ultimate secret weapon. Noswell struts over with a wicked grin, mocking their pathetic attempt at mass production. He vows to hunt down whoever helped them, even though their efforts were a total waste of time. Noswell brags that his family uses legendary techniques and ancient traditions to create products that are leagues above this garbage. Our hero fires back. Is pumping dark magic into totems your tradition? Your family sells trash, and masking the taste is nothing but a pathetic, cheap trick. He's told 5 packs cost a single copper, but he just sneers, crushes the coin under his boot, and bursts into a mocking laugh. He glares at the crowd and roars a threat, asking if they have any idea what'll happen to them if they dare buy from these losers. Rage boils inside our hero, but his sister rushes over with mysterious totems, making him realize they might just have a winning move. Sheba demands to know what they are, only to find out the red totem boosts sales, while the blue one draws in a massive, impatient crowd. He's betting everything on their superior taste, knowing that if they can just hook the customers, they'll flip the script. And this isn't even standard magic. He discovered a beckoning cat charm in an old book. And even though the magic circle failed, he knows this unique power has insane potential. It's just a cute toy! Shiva screams, questioning his sanity while the girl begs him to stop being so violent. Suddenly, Sheba's own father rushes up, desperate to buy more because everyone who tried the sample is absolutely obsessed with it. Our hero realizes his product is legendary. Compared to his leaves, everything else on the market tastes like literal moldy trash. The crowd is stunned by the insane quality and dirt-cheap price, with one guy grabbing 50 packs as a massive mob starts to swarm the stall. Nosville demands to know if they realize who they're messing with, while the desperate crowd begs Abel to sell them those precious leaves. People are snatching them up by the hundreds, forcing everyone into 2 massive lines while Pharaoh steps up to keep the chaotic mob in check. His friends warn him to drop the prices before a riot breaks out, but he refuses to budge because his father's orders are absolute. A rude line cutter gets called out by Abel, but instead of getting angry, the man actually praises the boy for his incredible backbone. The mysterious man reveals his true identity. He's not Naswell, but the legendary head of the Carlco family, Norman Carlco himself. Norman barks out a question about who's really running the show, and Abel stands tall, identifying himself and pointing out his son nearby. When asked if he's the infamous Totem maniac from the Bellic family, our hero just stares, sending the man into a fit of wild laughter. Nosville screams at him to snap out of it, but his father suddenly collapses, leaving Nosville demanding blood for his old man's fragile state. Norman lunges at our hero with a terrifying death threat, forcing the boy to scream at the crowd to clear the area immediately. The onlookers are stunned to see the Carlco patriarch facing off with this fool. But the girl trusts that Abel can keep his cool and handle the chaos. Our hero needs this to look like self-defense, so he's forced to wait for his enemy to strike first. Abel knows a single slip-up could be fatal, even as Noswell mocks him by praising his hidden talent. Abel glares at the glowing magic circle above him, realizing its sinister nature can't be hidden. It's a total sham. Norman might be a master magician, but his son is a complete idiot who's totally clueless. That magic tool is just a cheap power boost, and Nosval uses it to conjure a massive sphere of roaring flames. He lets out a primal scream and hurls the fire spear, but our MC is already countering with powerful earth magic. A massive totem erupts from the dirt, towering over the bully and sending him crashing to the ground in pure terror. The coward starts shrieking while Abel stays ice cold, refusing to hold back and daring Nosval to keep attacking. Abel wonders if this is just another trick, But then the guy starts begging for mercy, leaving our hero completely stunned. 10 days later, their incense takes the village by storm, crashing the Carlco market and finally liberating the oppressed people. These lazy freeloaders have been pocketing cash for doing absolutely nothing, but when Abel tries to make Nosvel work, the guy just runs for his life. After handing over the secret to managing the fields, Abel is riding high on a massive fortune from his frankincense sales. Our hero dives headfirst into intense research, determined to launch a brand new business empire. Testing the cart, Abel realizes it's just not enough. The magic power drains way too fast, leaving him stalled out and in desperate need of a better design. This cargo totem is the key to expanding the farm, so Abel gets to work reconfiguring it while telling a bored Giselle to take a walk. But she's perfectly happy just staying by his side. When he suggests she go hang out with friends, she looks him in the eye and says as long as she has him, she's got everything she needs. Now 14 years old, Giselle has spent her whole life glued to his side, rarely ever interacting with anyone outside the family. Realizing this can't go on forever, Abel approaches his father, who immediately assumes he's there to talk shop about the incense business. His dad is thrilled about the massive profits, praying Abel doesn't end up like the Carlco family, but Abel cuts him off. This isn't about money, it's about Giselle. His father realizes Abel is growing up, and with Giselle only 2 years away from adulthood, he suddenly drops a bombshell. Is he ready to perform the ceremony? He brings up the wedding with Giselle, questioning how siblings can marry, but his father looks at him in total confusion. Apparently, it's tradition for clan siblings to wed once the brother hits adulthood, especially if they're close in age. His dad asks if he's backing out, but our hero is stunned because he always believed marriage was about uniting two separate families. The father casually admits he married his own younger sister, but our guy fires back that marrying your own blood is definitely not normal. His dad thought he was obsessed with Giselle, but it was just brotherly affection. Now he's being forced to use this wedding to finally grow up. By morning, he's hit with the terrifying realization that the village is already full steam ahead with the wedding plans. He has to stop this. But he spent so much time mastering magic that he completely missed how insane the local customs actually were. He's certain Giselle is just as against this as he is, remembering how she used to ignore him every time he tried to get near her. Siblings shouldn't be together, so he plans to join forces with her to shut this down, until her sudden good morning nearly makes his heart stop. She sees he's exhausted and orders him to stop working, demanding that she gets to ride his new creation first, and she's thrilled when he finally finishes. His shift just got extended, but he's got a bombshell to drop on her that'll leave her absolutely speechless. Rumors of their marriage are spreading like wildfire, and after hearing the news under the moonlight, she's beaming with pure joy. Since he just became an adult, she never expected this so soon. But he actually won over his father to fast-track the wedding. For a whole decade, she's been obsessed with her mother's promise that one day she'd finally become her brother's wife. She was prepared to wait an eternity for him. But now that the day is finally here, our hero is completely overwhelmed. He's got to dive into the next chapter right now to fix the failing test run, and she's begging to tag along. He shuts her down immediately, insisting they focus on later instead. Giselle returns home to find her parents planning a wedding just 3 days away, and she couldn't be more thrilled. Her mom warns that Abel isn't on board, but her father brushes it off, certain he'll fall in line once the vows are exchanged. Our hero tracks down the chief, only to find out the old man just wants to talk about the farm fields. Abel desperately needs some space to think, so he awkwardly brushes them off and retreats to the silence of the library. He never bothered learning the local customs because he's still clinging to the values of his old world, making him a total misfit here. Everyone in this world believes that when you die, you turn into a spirit and eventually get reborn. But he knows that's a lie because he still remembers his past life, and he has no idea how these people would react to the truth. He kept his secret hidden just to survive, but his own hesitation landed him in this mess, making him wonder if just agreeing would have solved everything. He's way more worried about Giselle, a shut-in magic nerd who's been brainwashed into thinking marrying her own brother is perfectly normal. Suddenly, a totem knocks a map right off the table, and he's shocked to find a perfect layout of the entire village outskirts. He decides to vanish from the village to force Giselle to face the real world, so he starts prepping his escape and demands to take the sacred books and totems with him. The leader begs for them back, but he coldly refuses to give a timeline before Pharaoh stops him to congratulate him on his big wedding day. He's stunned, she knows, but when she reveals his father has been bragging to the whole town, he realizes he's been walked straight into a cunning trap. He announces his departure, but he's actually just whispering to his own shadow. He grips her hand one last time, offering a heartfelt thanks for her kindness. Panic strikes her as she begs him to stop acting like this is their final goodbye, but he simply tells her he's back. Abel vows to bury himself in his research, warning that time won't stand in his way. He turns to his father and drops a bombshell. Frankincense leaves are the missing link. His father shrugs it off, saying he'll focus on the ceremony while Abel hides away. Giselle offers a meal, but he's already eaten with the headman and is racing against a brutal deadline. She pleads with him not to push his fragile body to the breaking point. He can only offer a quiet apology for causing her so much worry. Under the cover of night, he pens a heartbreaking letter. He's vanishing, and won't return until either he or Giselle has finally moved on and married. He aims his wand at his own heart and commands the shadows to hide him, vanishing into thin air. This isn't his first escape, but it's definitely his last. He climbs into the Totem minecart and launches himself into the unknown. Doubt gnaws at him. Will they ever let him come home? The Marin clan laws are absolute. Leave without the chief's permission, and you're an outcast. He has no idea what happens to traitors. But if he's banished, he knows Giselle will find a new life. Tears stream down his face as he realizes he can only watch over her from the shadows. Our hero snaps awake, totally disoriented, realizing he should have reached the lake ages ago if he wants to hit the bustling trade hub of Lomar, a city overflowing with secrets and rare treasures. He's hyped about the big city life, but his excitement vanishes when the totem suddenly starts smoking, leaving Abel completely baffled. His father is losing his mind because the boy vanished without leaving a single note. But the girl insists he's just out testing the totem and will be back soon. If he isn't back by sunset, they'll have to beg the chief to launch a full-scale search party, though she's desperately clinging to the hope that he's safe. She hides his secret letter behind her back, whispering that she believes in him, while Abel stands paralyzed next to the ruined totem. He's questioning if he really swapped the ore for Liata, especially since the Emectivaya shows clear signs of a forced tampering. But who could have done it? It hits him that Giselle was the only person he told about the ore, and her warning for him not to collapse from exhaustion suddenly feels a lot more ominous. Reaching Lomar and making it back would push any man to the brink of death, yet he's convinced this is a distance he can actually conquer. If Giselle knew he was escaping under the cover of night, why did she use such a bizarre, indirect method to stop him instead of just blocking his path? He finally realizes the trap. They're forcing him to break the rules so that the next time someone tries to flee, there will be absolutely no escape. If he turns back now, he's trapped in this village forever, and the thought of a forced marriage makes his skin crawl. He's already outgrown this dead-end town, and he knows that somewhere down that road, a brand new world is waiting for him. Is he really going to let his entire future rot away in this place? Tears stream down his face as a sudden voice cuts through the silence. A girl leaning out of a passing cart shouts to ask if he's okay or if his stomach is in knots, while a mysterious dark-haired guy sits right behind her. He desperately asks where they're headed, and when the guy says Lomar, our hero's heart leaps with joy. He's finally free from his village and never looking back. They eye his strange hair and eyes, asking if he's a Marin clan member on the run, and he confesses he ditched his family because they couldn't stand each other. The girl smiles, telling him he sounds exactly like her friend Maya. James had arrived at Maya's village to trade, but she begged and cried until he finally agreed to take her away just 1 week ago. They both felt like outcasts, unable to stomach the suffocating traditions of their homes. Maya hails from the Duam clan, but she's missing the vital magic crystal on her forehead, a defect that caused nothing but trouble. Her people are supposed to have horns and forehead crystals, and they suspect her mother might have fallen during pregnancy, causing the crystal to break off before she was even born. When asked if those crystals are fragile, he explains they're as brittle as tree bark. Once they snap, they're gone forever, which is why Maya was treated like absolute trash for not having one. It's one thing to be hated by strangers, but even her own mother looked at her with pure disgust. The guy realizes right then that Maya has endured a lifetime of absolute hell. She brandishes the bag she snatched, packed with her mother's life savings, but even this gold can't wash away her sins. She's ready to roam the world with James, and he's totally down, until they suddenly spot the monstrous Garm beasts closing in. They can't figure out why these things are hunting them, but one thing's for sure. These Garms are relentless, bloodthirsty hounds. These magical beasts are born from pure mana when the conditions are just right, popping into existence so fast you'll never see them coming. The chief's orders were clear. Report any rank D threat instantly. But with these beasts on their tail, Maya screams for him to drive like a maniac. James shouts to ignore the house and focus on the escape, demanding they ditch the luggage to hopefully bait those monsters away. He asks Abel if he can sling some spells, and when Abel says yes, he tells him to blow those beasts away before they kill someone else. Our hero levels his wand at the Garms, and suddenly they're blasted into the sky like a massive screaming pillar of monsters. A towering totem of beasts is all that's left, and as Abel asks if that's enough, James realizes the Moran clan is freaking nuts. After a quick night of camping and fishing, they hit the trail again until James finally shouts that the city is in sight. Looming before them is the massive city of Lomar, and it's not long before they finally cross into its borders. Maya questions why they have to part ways, echoing James's own concerns, but Abel explains that one of them is vital for the merchant's trade. James offers his heartfelt thanks, knowing he'd be doomed without Abel's help, while Maya hands over a bag of jewels to buy out his entire wheat stock. Maya desperately asks if Abel is abandoning her, but he admits he has no plans yet, giving her the chance to demand he finally teach her those secret totem engraving techniques. She declares she's sticking by him from now on, promising to buy him anything his heart desires, though Abel just wants her to stop spending all his hard-earned cash. As our duo wanders through the bustling streets, Abel is blown away by how much more vibrant and chaotic this city is compared to his quiet village. His eyes lock onto a mysterious shop called Chimera's Tale, where a quirky girl in a hat praises a customer's taste for finally noticing an item that's been gathering dust for ages. Maya realizes that Trunk is actually a branch from the legendary World Tree, a source of immense power hidden deep within a forest crawling with deadly monsters. 5 years ago, an entire squad was wiped out in that forest, leaving only one survivor who escaped by the skin of his teeth using illusions before selling this cursed branch for a fortune. Abel is floored by the shopkeeper's raw magical power, realizing that if she ever made a totem, it would be legendary. Meanwhile, Maya is shocked to learn such artifacts exist in his home. She thrusts a bottle forward, revealing they were swarmed by a stampede of unicorns during a monster outbreak, leaving our hero absolutely stunned. Using blood as paint is the key. Combine that with the World Tree branches and he could create something legendary. But it'll cost him a staggering $2.1 million. In the Kingdom of Dinlart, medicinal herbs are strictly illegal, meaning every single leaf he gathered is now completely worthless. Abel snaps that if he actually had the funds, he'd be back home earning a living, but then she slams a massive bag of gold on the table and asks if that's enough. Our hero begs her to wait, but she's determined to pay the massive bill herself, leaving him struggling to accept such an incredible favor. The merchant finally unloads the branch with a massive discount, and while Maya is thrilled, Abel wonders why she's being so generous with such a rare artifact. The protagonist is left reeling from the shock while the girl simply collapses onto a plush, fluffy futon to relax. He sits in silence, realizing the merchant won't cover their meals until she sees the final masterpiece, betting that a perfected branch will fetch a king's ransom. Abel realizes this is a high-stakes investment, and as she drifts off, he vows to craft a legendary work of art that will make him the greatest totem master alive. With a determined grin, he knows he has to pay Maya back, and while she sleeps soundly, Abel begins furiously carving his next totem. Finally, he announces that the work is finished, a top-tier masterpiece that grants him godlike power if he can just master it. Out of nowhere, a strange sensation washes over Abel, and he wonders if his sleepless night is finally catching up to him as Maya wakes up in a total daze. She screams his name in pure shock, and as Abel's mind races back to his broken truck on the road to Lomar, he suddenly realizes he's been bound tight. The door creaks open and Giselle steps inside, coldly asking if he's finally decided to wake up. She apologizes for the restraints, claiming she had to stop his reckless behavior, and as she rips the gag from his mouth, Abel can only choke out a cough. Abel realizes with horror that she's completely misinterpreted his escape as some kind of experiment, and he can't believe how wrong she is. Despite the letter he left, Giselle offers him a meal she cooked herself, reminding him that in the Moran clan, a wife always feeds her husband. Abel knows that taking a single bite means there's no turning back, so he looks at his sister and begs for forgiveness for his desperate escape. His mind works on a completely different level than the rest of the Moran clan. a secret truth he always hoped he'd be able to share with her one day. She claims to understand his pain, but still pleads with him to at least take a sip of water to keep his body from failing. Our hero takes a drink, but Giselle coldly tells him he's just too clueless to see the trap he's fallen into. She whispers a hollow apology before driving a blade deep into his leg, leaving him screaming in agony as she brands him with a sinister seal. Panic sets in as his tongue goes completely numb. Was the water poisoned? She casually claims everything is fine, even though he'll never take another step again. She vows to be his eternal caretaker, but he's paralyzed with fear, knowing he'll lose his leg forever unless he can conjure some magic to break free. Maya's scream snaps him back to reality, and she wonders if mages always cast deadly spells in their sleep as he stares at the glowing circles hovering before him. He's absolutely floored. He actually created this massive magic circle, and its sheer power is enough to wipe everything off the map. Terrified by his own monstrous talent, he quickly dispels the magic and apologizes, admitting a nightmare drove him to nearly vaporize the entire region. Abel's memory is a total blur, or maybe he's just suppressing the horror, while Maya realizes his burning fever has finally broken. He asks how long he was out, only to find he's been unconscious for a day and a half, leaving her worried sick until he finally offers his thanks. She asks if she was actually helpful, and Abel realizes that selling that totem is about to land him a massive mountain of gold. Abel clutches the totem in his hands, tears streaming down his face as he marvels at its beauty, while Maya reveals this world tree branch is her ultimate gift to him. Maya even covers the bill for their meal before mentioning the Adventurers Aid Center, a place where monster loot turns into cold, hard cash, proving this city has a genius way of fighting back the beasts. With a grin, Abel decides they'll head there tomorrow, unaware that back home, the village chief's search party just discovered his abandoned truck and called off the hunt. Giselle was certain he'd come crawling back, but as her hope shatters, she spirals into total isolation and locks herself away from the world. Her parents watch in absolute heartbreak, pitying their broken daughter as she wastes away, her every waking thought haunted by Abel. She sits alone, whispering a desperate plea for his return before violently plunging a knife straight through her totem. As she questions her own sanity, her father watches in pure horror while a sinister shadow lurks outside, realizing he's finally found the key to his ultimate ascension. Abel arrives at the Adventurer Center and wonders if Maya has any hidden magical talents, only for her to reveal she's packing serious power for slaying monsters. She admits her magic once made her an outcast, so Abel drops the subject of her mysterious clan and asks for a full breakdown of how this guild actually operates. Maya questions why he signed up under the alias Mountain, and Abel admits he did it on pure instinct to dodge the massive trouble heading his way. To get help, all you need is your official ID card. This organization tracks every adventurer, boosting your rank for every epic quest you complete until you're rubbing shoulders with royalty. Abel remembers his savior, a man named Mountain who rescued him from a vicious monster ambush. The girl is stunned that such deadly creatures even exist, but without Mountain, Abel was a dead man. He incinerated the beasts and healed Abel's wounds instantly. Our hero can't help but smirk, realizing this world feels exactly like an old-school MMO, leaving the girl totally baffled by his reaction. Once they're signed up, they need a target, but the girl suddenly halts the plan. One of the guys apologizes, admitting he and Maison are totally out of sync and can't work together anymore. He suggests a truce before dropping a bombshell. If Tia leaves, the girl by her side is following. She's always been in love with him, so he's letting them go together. Stunned, the guy confesses his love for both of them as they march off hand in hand. Maya watches them go, silently praying for their happiness. Abel tells everyone to back off, but the leader stands up and demands to know their plan. He's hunting for new comrades after kicking the weaklings off his team, but Abel insists they're already good to go. He makes an offer they can't refuse. Join him and he'll foot the entire bill for the journey. Plus, he's sitting on top-secret intel about the ultimate hunting spot. As they rumble along in a cart, they grill the boy about this massive hunting zone. He explains that with the barriers down, the monsters have retreated into the ancient ruins, making it the perfect place for an expedition. Abel digs for info on the treasure, but it's probably the massive mana stone that once powered the ruins' shields. That thing is worth a fortune. and they'll have to slaughter a mountain of monsters to get it. Basically, they've got zero worries, because this guy is an E-rank powerhouse who's footing the entire bill. With the ruins looming ahead, he starts lashing out at the researchers, refusing to let some pampered lord's backing get to their heads while they huddle around the campfire. The girl delivers the bad news. Those guards were dead serious, blocking the path and ordering them to get lost immediately. Our hero realizes the lord is hoarding all the secrets for himself, so they'll just have to wait for dawn to catch a glimpse of those ruins from a distance. Stunned, the guy asks if they're just giving up, but Abel insists that while the guards are tight, a patient adventurer always finds a way through the chaos. Suddenly, a roar echoes through the night, and while the E-rank swordsman is itching to prove his worth against a monster, the protagonist warns everyone to stay quiet and keep their position hidden. Out of nowhere, a massive clawed beast erupts from the trees, sending a wave of pure terror through the entire group. He lunges into battle and slices the creature's hand, bragging about how easy it was while the main character and Maya watch in total disbelief. The wounded beast lets out a furious shriek, and suddenly, a whole pack of monsters emerges from the shadows, leaving everyone paralyzed with shock. Without warning, the guy lets out a blood-curdling scream and tosses his sword aside, leaving his companions staring in absolute confusion. He bolts away, screaming for the others to escape while he plays bait, leaving our MC questioning if this swordsman actually has any real talent. Suddenly, the guy collapses in a heap of pure terror, but the MC just pulls out his wand and commends him for having such a fiery spirit. Our hero conjures a massive inferno, commanding the monsters to burn to cinders as he obliterates the beasts closing in on the fallen man. The MC casually asks if he's okay, leaving the guy absolutely shell-shocked by the sudden kindness. He collapses next to the monster corpses, thanking the protagonist for the rescue while clearly holding back a secret. The guy offers Abel the leadership role, but Abel just shrugs and tells him to keep it because he honestly couldn't care less. A mysterious shadow watches them from afar, fixating on the white hair, crimson eyes, and those bizarre magic circles. A bearded warrior wielding a massive scythe reports that this kid is almost certainly a member of the legendary Moran clan. The man calmly approaches and asks if he's from the Mering clan, while the MC clocks his elven ears and the companion demands to know who this old man is. He analyzes the wand, noting that while most focus magic and spirits, this one is completely abnormal, proving he read the MC's power with just a single glance. Abel admits he personally tweaked the wand, deciding a magic boost was totally unnecessary, leaving the man stunned by his sheer arrogance. The thugs behind them pivot to Adelhide, pleading for his return, while our hero realizes these are the same losers they kicked out earlier. He reveals he's Adelhide of the elven race, hunting through these ruins to reclaim the forgotten history of his people. He offers them a deal: help his research, and he'll not only let them tag along, but guarantee a massive reward from the Lord himself. Adelhide's ally looks baffled, but the man insists this mage is far more elite than Wagner, mocking what a Marinclan wizard could even contribute. By sunrise, the group reaches the ruins where our hero grills Adelhide, asking if he's the one who finally shattered the barrier. He owns up to it, boasting that after years of solo research, he finally cracked the seal. But he still needs the Lord's backing to finish the job. Our protagonist realizes that Adelhide was a lone wolf until the Lord decided to muscle his way into the operation. Abel slams his fist into the wall, sensing a bizarre ore, while Adelhide explains it's the work of celestial alchemy, a divine mix of magic and healing. Abel asks if this ore points toward the light seals, but the man shuts him down, reminding him to remember who's actually in charge here. He snaps at the boy, demanding to know if he's being tricked, but Abel stands his ground, and the man realizes the kid's protection is absolutely massive. Adelhide is a total wildcard who won't give them a single second to rest, and just yesterday his explosive temper nearly got them all kicked out. This greedy guy can't wrap his head around the great elf's plan, especially since the elf just wanders around ignoring the magic formulas while everyone else does the hard work. Breaking a seal this complex requires insane amounts of research, but the old man's toxic attitude is making Maya miserable and leaving Abel totally baffled. Our hero realizes testing these formulas is a dead end because they only reinforce the walls. The real secret to shattering the barrier is a massive hidden core. The man roars at him to stop talking nonsense, but Abel proves that these seals are identical to the Pied clan's secret techniques, forcing the man to admit the kid is a genius. Even though the Lord sent a wizard, the guy is a total weakling who can't keep up, making it clear that bringing Abel along was the best decision they ever made. They stumble into a chamber housing a majestic Griffin statue, the literal heart of the magic formula, and Abel is stunned by its incredible grace. If they can crack this open, the path forward is finally clear. But they're facing a complex, multi-layered barrier that's built like a deadly magical puzzle. Abel wonders if it's a legendary 4-layer barrier, but he quickly spots the trick. One layer is a total fake, meaning they only have to smash through 3. The man reveals his secret research, but our hero spots a bizarre formula that leaves everyone scratching their heads while Maya literally falls asleep. Summoning a glowing magic circle, the MC admits that smashing this statue with a head-on strike is going to be a massive pain. Abel questions if magic is even the right choice, but the man laughs it off, claiming it would take a god-tier level of mana to even scratch the surface. Our hero thinks brute force is easy, but the man finds his confidence hilarious, insisting that the statue must remain absolutely flawless. The MC realizes this seal is insanely intricate, making him wonder what legendary treasure lies beneath, until a sudden scream warns of incoming hobgoblins. In an instant, a massive swarm of club-wielding goblins closes in, trapping the entire group. As the MC questions their origin, the man realizes they were lurking in the shadows, forcing our hero to carve out an escape route before they're overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. Abel finally sees why this old man is a court magician as he steps forward, unleashing a blinding ring of light to make those monsters regret ever showing their faces. He tears through the goblin ranks, shouting for the group to follow his lead so they can thin the herd and make a break for it. Seeing the man's raw power, the MC realizes he's in good hands, meaning he won't even get a chance to show off his own skills. Out of nowhere, Abel's eyes light up as he bellows a command to bring him 3 live goblins, leaving the man completely stunned. He roars that these monsters are the key to shattering the seal, but the man can't believe he only needs 3 of them. The man scoffs that it's an easy job and snatches them up, while one of the boys turns away in disgust, sickened by how human-like the creatures look. With a flick of his wrist, he hits them with a paralysis spell that will freeze them for 3 whole months as the girl trembles and asks what horrific fate awaits them. Breaking a 2-millennium-old seal requires the energy of a very specific beast, but identifying a creature that might have been extinct for centuries is nearly impossible. That's when it hits him. He can use biomagic to swap their energy instead, and if every seal is identical, they'll tear through them in no time. The man realizes the plan is brilliant. He knew they needed monster energy, but he never even dreamed of a shortcut like this. Abel is proving to be a terrifyingly gifted mage, though he admits he's just winging it based on his notes. Now they just need magic stones to start mutating the goblin's insides. Luckily, Adelhide is sitting on a hoard of top-tier stones and barks an order for his subordinate to fetch them immediately. Abel peers into the bag and his jaw drops. These are royal-class magic stones, the ultimate treasure hoard gathered just to conquer these ruins. With half of their arsenal gifted by the Lord himself, our hero flashes a confident grin and declares that victory is now absolute. Maya begs him to stay sane, but he coldly warns her to look away if she can't handle the gore before he brutally slashes the goblin, leaving her paralyzed with fear. Magic surges through his veins as massive wings sprout from his back, and as a haunting croak fills the air, the entire crowd is left speechless. He shouts that the plan is a go and hands the reins to Adelhide, who immediately unleashes her devastating assimilation magic. As the goblins huddle by the statue, the magic circles ignite with power, sending the boy into a frenzy of joy while a dark, suffocating miasma begins to swirl. Our hero desperately calls the goblins by name, begging them to survive, a gesture that stuns the boy, just as the barrier finally shatters, sparking a roar of triumph. The crowd erupts in celebration over this historic milestone, but their joy is instantly shattered as the ground begins to quake violently. A monstrous entity manifests, mocking the annoying elf for thinking a 2,000-year seal could ever hold back a king of her power. This colossal black bird looms over the group, chilling them to the bone with the terrifying promise that they are all about to become its next victims. The griffin bellows that while the seal held him for 2,000 years, he is finally free to turn every single one of them into his prey. Abel panics, shrieking for Goburo, Gobuko, and Gobuto as Maya warns him of the deadly risk. but he's determined to break the seal and claim them as his pets. Adelhide proclaims himself the final guardian of these ancient ruins, barking at the others to stop standing around and use their numbers to surround the enemy. Unleashing a surge of magic, the man orders Abel to strike the wings, but Abel snaps back at the king for hurting the Gober brothers and launches a ferocious counterattack. As our hero weaves a complex magical seal, the monster mocks his intelligence, but Abel realizes he's actually facing the powerful spirit of the wind. The king sneers, asking if he's really foolish enough to think wind magic can touch him, leaving our hero stunned as he frantically rethinks his strategy. Since griffins are masters of the wind, the king laughs off the attack as a joke, until, in a flash of violence, one of his wings is suddenly severed. The massive griffin crashes into the dirt, leaving our hero speechless, while his allies scream that this is their golden opportunity to strike. The entire squad charges the fallen beast, and while Abel thinks the creature is a total pushover, Maya insists it's every bit as dangerous as she feared. With the griffin finally silenced, Adelhide blasts the doors open with her magic, proving our hero was right. The legendary sealed ruins are finally revealed. The men erupt in cheers, dreaming of the god's arrow and legendary loot, while the old man tries to take charge despite doing absolutely nothing during the entire fight. Suddenly, a bizarre noise echoes through the air, and as they spin around, a massive swarm of rats comes charging right at them, lured by the scent of the monsters they just slaughtered. Adelhide realizes these low-tier monsters are endless, but Mason lunges forward, begging to slice them all down, while Abel notes that the guy only gets this fired up against weaklings. 30 minutes of non-stop carnage later, the group is completely drained from battling goblins, griffins, and rats, forcing Adelhide to declare that they absolutely have to move on. When one of the guys suggests they finally take a break, another man snaps in a fit of rage, calling him pathetic and weak for wanting to rest. Our hero agrees with the exhausted crew, suggesting they backtrack to seal off that rat-infested corridor so they can finally explore in peace. Adelhide admits he's tapped out of mana after that brutal griffin fight, while Abel confesses that even though his power is high, his physical stamina is hitting rock bottom. With a knowing smirk, Adelhide finally gives in, deciding they'll set up camp for the night and get back to their investigation first thing tomorrow. As the group settles down, the protagonist huddles by the flickering campfire studying his notes until Adelhide creeps up behind him, wondering why he isn't fast asleep. Abel reveals he's already recharged with a quick nap and a secret homemade potion that sharpens his focus, offering the mysterious bottle to the man. Adelhide warns him to keep that stuff hidden, because brewing illegal potions from rare herbs is a crime that could get him in massive trouble anywhere in the world. The man explains that his biomagic usually requires strict permits, making his home village sound like a total outlier. Abel wonders if these bizarre laws are even real, realizing he never noticed them before because he traveled to the city with absolutely zero luggage. Adelhide promises to take the fall for the griffin's death, telling Abel to wipe away any trace of his involvement while thanking him for everything. A tiny oversight caused his research to stall for decades, and with no family to carry on his work, Abel asks when his obsession with the Zesham ruins actually began. Adelhide reveals he's been at this for 3 centuries, though Abel secretly bets the guy is closer to 400 years old. He questions why someone with Abel's power would drag around useless companions, forcing Abel to rethink if they're actually pulling their weight. But the truth is, Abel is totally broke without them. Mason handles the travel costs while Maya provides all the vital totem materials. It's a perfect trade-off, and Abel admits that as a newcomer to the outside world, having allies by his side gives him a massive boost in confidence. Adelhide tells him to get some shut-eye because tomorrow they're diving even deeper into the heart of the ruins. The man declares he expects great things from Abel before walking off, his eyes fixed on the vast open sky. As the sun rises, the old man loses his mind, screaming about the mountain of royal-grade magic stones before them as Abel finally realizes what's fueling those massive barriers. Our hero is certain there's more to this place, because an elven stronghold from 2 millennia ago is bound to hide even deadlier secrets. Adelhide catches their conversation and keeps moving, leaving the protagonist stunned that anyone could stay this calm while staring at a literal mountain of treasure. They eventually reach a massive set of doors where Adelhide raises his hands and unleashes his powerful unlocking magic. The gates swing wide to reveal a room packed with ancient golems, and that's when Adelhide lets out a chilling, sinister laugh. He declares that he's finally reached his goal and immediately begins chanting, Oh, fire-form sphere! Abel demands to know what he's doing, but Adelhide just smirks, boasting that not even the High Elves could resist his superior magical formula. He shouts that the arrow of God is far too precious for a commoner. It belongs only to him, a true descendant of the Zatium bloodline. Shocked by the revelation, our hero blurts out the question, is he actually a descendant of the legendary Zatium? Adelhide explains that the Zashumians were exiled from the heavens after a failed crusade, and now, starved of the moon's magic, their entire race is slowly rotting away. Our hero finally connects the dots, realizing why this guy looks so much older than he should. Adelhide sneers that there's no escaping the blood of his ancestors. He reveals this massive fortress was built for one reason: to crush the land's power and bring the entire kingdom to its knees so the Zeshamites could reclaim their throne. But the king of Zashem committed a fatal error when he fell for a daughter of the Minx, choosing love over power and triggering a barrier that leveled the entire stronghold. To him, tainting noble blood with those short-lived Minx is an unforgivable sin, especially since the king slaughtered Adelhide's kin and buried their history in lies. Maya stands frozen in horror as he explains that these monstrous golems were forged using ancient Zashem techniques to be the ultimate weapons of war. Launching the god's arrow requires a mountain of magic stones, and with his current stash, he has enough for 3 devastating shots to conquer the world and seize absolute power. As the crowd panics over his talk of conquest, Abel questions why he'd reveal such a massive plan, only for the man to suddenly offer to become his loyal right hand. Stunned by the sudden offer, our hero calls out the man's name just as Maya screams for his attention. Abel tries to brush off the insane proposal, but Adelhide just laughs, mocking him as a mere child before warning him to keep his head on his shoulders. Thick smoke suddenly chokes the air, forcing our hero to summon his totem for a transformation and unleash his absorption power before ordering Maya and Mazen to the World Tree. The mob lunges at him, but Abel orders his totem to swallow every last bit of smoke. The totem devours the haze instantly, leaving the attackers collapsed and gasping for air. Adelhide sneers, asking if this wooden totem trick was his big secret all along. Abel just stares him down and demands his immediate surrender. Adelhide refuses to back down, but Abel warns him that losing isn't an option. He tells the man to give up now because he won't be able to hold back his true power much longer. The man admits he'd be finished if he were alone, but he's got an ace up his sleeve. He whips out a glowing crystal and commands the massive golem to submit to his will. Adelhide boasts that this is a soldier of Zeshem, a white giant of pure destruction. He screams that his name will go down in history for Zeshem's rebirth, and now Abel must accept his death. Maya lets out a terrified scream while Mazen begs Abel to run before the golems crush them. But Abel stands his ground, realizing that he finally understands the enemy's secret. Abel walks right up to one of the towering golems and forces it to obey his command. Adelhide's jaw drops in absolute disbelief. "Impossible!" the man shrieks, demanding to know how Abel cracked the golem's control code. Abel calmly explains that he analyzed the data the second the barrier shattered. Adelhide is stunned that Abel broke the encryption in a single glance, but mocks him, saying the golem won't move without a massive magic stone. Abel just points at the beast and reveals he's already pulled it off. The man snarls that without elven blood, Abel can't override his authority. He thrusts his hand into the air and commands the white giant to obliterate everything. Right then, our hero roars a command at the golems, and they instantly bow to his will as Adelhide watches in total shock while the giants turn on each other. The villain screams that this is impossible for a mere human, desperately waving his hands to regain control, but the white giants don't budge an inch. Abel coldly declares that every single golem in the room belongs to him now, and no amount of magic can break his ironclad grip on them. Adelhide loses her mind, shrieking in rage as she unleashes a barrage of deadly magic that puts everyone in the crossfire, forcing the boy to beg for mercy. The coward tries to bolt, but our hero shouts for him to stop, knowing he can't let that mysterious arrow of God be unleashed at any cost. Abel warns the group of the looming danger and tells the girl to stay back, but Maya insists on helping by hauling the massive World Tree totem. She pleads with him not to abandon her, so he tells her to stay sharp and follow close, while Mazen panics, asking if everything has finally gone to hell. He was ready to run for his life, but a true leader never abandons his crew, so the 3 of them charge forward to hunt down Adelhide. Suddenly, Abel grinds to a halt and tells the others to go on ahead and stop the man themselves, leaving his companions absolutely stunned. His body is failing him, The sheer mental toll of deciphering the ruins has drained his energy and his potions are bone dry. But his allies cry out that they can't win this without him. Myson hoists him up, but Abel begs him to stop swaying before his wounds get worse, then asks what actually motivated him to become an adventurer. Our hero admits he's just in it for the easy cash, but Myson reveals a deeper truth. He was once rescued by a brave adventurer himself. As a kid, he stumbled right into a deadly monster's den, and just as the beast lunged for the kill, a mysterious warrior swooped in to save his life. Mason knows he's no match for Adelhide alone, but as their leader, he's ready to give everything he's got to support the team. Abel asks if he looks like a total loser right now, leaving Maya completely speechless. They finally reach their destination, and after checking their altitude, Mason nervously wonders if their ultimate enemy is truly waiting just past this hallway. As they step inside, the darkness is so thick that Abel can't see a single thing moving in the shadows. Mason asks if Abel can hijack the beast, and though Abel's unsure, he's crushed golems before and thinks he might have a shot. Adelhide had way too much time to reinforce the barrier, forcing Maya to ask the terrifying question: do they actually have to kill this massive golem? Abel realizes the massive room lets him supercharge his magic for a finishing blow. But before he can fire, Mason suddenly charges straight at the enemy. The moment the boy reaches the golem, it lets out a bone-chilling roar that freezes his blood, and as it lunges into a chase, Maya screams its name in pure desperation. Mason declares they need to stop Adelhide immediately, promising to immortalize his legend and transform him into a true hero for the ages. Our hero snaps that shouting is pointless since the beast won't listen, and with no time to lose, he decides to wipe the golem off the face of the earth. He thrusts his wand toward the sky, igniting a massive magic seal and fueling it with a high-level enhancement spell. The legendary magical metal Hydem manifests before them, a divine alloy forged from raw mana and spirits whose ultimate power depends entirely on the caster's will. He launches the projectile straight at the golem's heart, and while Abel thinks it's a perfect shot, the massive titan suddenly freezes in its tracks. The blast completely obliterates the floor and shatters a massive pillar, leaving Abel terrified of the repair bill, until Maya suggests they just blame the whole disaster on Adelhide. Abel agrees that this mess is totally forgivable, relieved the damage wasn't worse, but his luck runs out as a violent earthquake begins to rip the ground apart. Mason demands to know what's happening, while Abel realizes that unbreakable pillar just crumbled, and right then, he spots a hidden door nearby. He barks at Myson to pick him up and charge toward that door, but Myson hesitates, wondering if things are so bad that they should just turn around and run for their lives. Abel warns that if they don't act now, disaster is inevitable, and he can't stand the thought of losing a genius like Adelhide after their deep conversation. He can still hear Adelhide's final words of encouragement, making him wonder if things could have been different if they'd met in another life. Myson demands they ditch the lunatic, arguing they can't carry a bunch of drugged-up captives back to a city where certain execution awaits him anyway. Our heroes realize Adelhide would much rather perish among the ancient ruins he spent his life protecting than face a cold executioner's blade. Mason screams for them to hop on his back and flee, but Abel begs for a moment to repair the golem so they can ride it to safety. Suddenly, the doors burst open as the crew charges out on the back of a massive golem, flanked by a whole squad of mechanical giants. Once they've put some distance between them and the danger, they finally halt, and a relieved Mason gasps that they barely made it out alive. He laments that Adelhide is doomed to be buried alive, but Abel is distracted, clutching a mysterious crystal and questioning the nature of the arrow of God. Abel explains he snatched this strange fragment from the rubble, convinced that this bizarre ore was forged through ancient elven alchemy. As he lets go, the shard defies gravity and floats, reacting to specific magical wavelengths that shift its very weight. Adelhide's words echo in his mind. 2 millennia ago, the fallen elves built this fortress to seize the heavens, yet he's baffled why they'd construct it so far from their target. Suddenly, Maya screams for him to look up, and his jaw drops as a massive fortress appears, hovering in the sky behind a colossal barrier. Adelhide is right there, declaring that the moment of truth has arrived. Zesham is finally waking up. He realizes with a shock that the beast golem is still standing, and after burning through his mana to control an entire army of golems, he's completely drained and unable to cast another spell. Adelhide lets out a cold laugh, mocking him because only an elf can truly stop Zesham's weapon, before staring intensely at the seal on his hand and then back at the aircraft. He vows to launch a god's arrow straight into the city of Lomar, boasting that a single blast will turn the entire metropolis into a scorched wasteland to show the world his true power. Adelhide commands the heavenly realm of Alfheim to wait, swearing that this time he will drag her down to the dirt. Suddenly, the entire tower trembles as the barrier cracks, leaving him stunned and wondering what kind of insane power could actually pierce his defenses. Maison is blown away, questioning how that hunk of metal flew so far, while Maya screams at the top of her lungs that they have to knock it out of the sky right now. But in a flash, the barrier repairs itself, and Adelhide watches their horrified faces through the screen, laughing at their utter despair. He reveals the fortress's ultimate defense, an auto-repairing barrier that's impossible to crack unless you hunt down and destroy every single power node. Maya is horrified that their successful hit did 0 damage, while Abel realizes the shield is regenerating. Mason just sneers, telling them their struggle is completely pathetic. Our hero clocks the timing. It takes exactly 15 seconds for the shield to fully restore. "That's plenty of time," he mutters, raising his wand to the sky. Adelhide is actually impressed the kid kept up this long, but he's convinced it's finally time for him to tuck tail and run. Suddenly, another massive impact rattles the shield. The man mocks the hero for being a stubborn fool who doesn't know when to quit. But he doesn't even get to finish his sentence. The entire fortress begins to shake with violent, bone-rattling force, catching the man completely off guard. He whips around, desperate to see what's causing this chaos. The protagonist shouts that if one hit won't work, he'll just blast it so fast the repair system can't even keep up. Mason is shocked he's actually trying to win through pure, overwhelming brute force. Adelhide screams in a total frenzy, cursing Abel's very existence. He thought he'd found a useful pawn, but instead he invited the man who would murder his dreams. This is the legendary might of the Marin clan, the true gods of death on the battlefield. He vows to never forgive this, choosing death over watching his master plan go up in smoke. Adelhide taps into his power and orders every weapon to engage. In an instant, every single cannon on the fortress swivels and locks onto its target. Maya trembles in fear as Mazan stares at the massive arsenal appearing before them, frantically asking for a plan while the boy repeats his chilling question. With a surge of magic, he summons the legendary Kaitum metal, sending a swarm of projectiles screaming toward the enemy fortress. Maya is speechless at the display, while Abel declares that his magical metal is far superior to these primitive stone tools, leaving Mason baffled by his reliance on raw, overwhelming power. The hero knows he's about to squeeze the truth out of his enemy, but he has to act fast before the city gets caught in the blast. Adelhide loses his mind, screaming that his 2,000-year-old invincible fortress, his entire life's work and the pride of Zesham, is actually being threatened. He never dreamed he'd have to use a weapon built to bring down the heavens, but he slams the trigger anyway to unleash the arrow of God. The crew watches from below in total shock, with Mason demanding answers and Maya feeling a chill down her spine as Abel questions if this is truly the power of a god. That eerie noise is the sound of pure spirit energy burning up, a power so massive it requires an army of celestial spirits just to fuel a single shot. The protagonist predicts that the crystal is about to fire a devastating laser, and the sheer scale of the threat leaves everyone absolutely terrified. Abel realizes his metal won't hold, and Maya screams for them to retreat, but the boy refuses to budge, dead set on trying one last crazy stunt. He flings an artifact to Maya, barking at her to hold it steady, while Mason wonders why he's ditching his staff. But Abel reveals the staff was just a tool to fuel his massive spiritual energy. Adelhide shrieks that it's all over for Tom, branding him the magician Marin before demanding he vanish from existence. Our hero focuses on crushing a fireball into a dense core, layering it over and over until it becomes the ultimate destructive force, the Abel Ball. He discovered this insane magic during his last blackout, never imagining he'd be forced to unleash it this quickly. With the glowing orb complete, he launches it directly at Adelhide's fortress, catching the villain completely off guard. The moment that concentrated power slams into the castle, a blinding explosion erupts, lighting up the entire horizon. Back in the city, Maya chows down on a burger and asks if her companion is actually on board with the plan. She's talking about the official report on the beast's defeat and Mason's reward, but Abel knows his rank is on the line since he's always running behind schedule. He notes that the Griffin and the ruins have totally vanished, and while ranking up is easy for him, his mind is still stuck on the moment his Abel Ball intercepted the god's arrow. As the blast tore through the air, Mason threw himself over Maya to protect her, while Abel prepared to unleash his wind magic to finish the job. A sudden gust of wind catches Adelhide's floating body, gently setting him back down on solid ground. Maison demands to know why he did it, but our hero just shrugs, leaving his ultimate fate in the hands of the city. Maya reports the ruins' total collapse just as Abel takes control of the golem, triggering a massive, blinding explosion that rocks the area. The girl is stunned by what she saw, and the old man begs for a translation, unable to believe they actually stopped the ruins from turning into dust. The man screams that no mage could pull off such a feat, accusing them of chasing glory. This is exactly why he hates dealing with these villagers. Our hero realizes that even if the man believed the truth, it would only cause more trouble, so he's actually satisfied with this outcome. They overhear two guys gossiping about the barrier breaking and a massive blast, claiming an elf tried to steal the ruins but accidentally blew them sky high. That elf is rotting in a cell now, barely escaping execution, and Abel sighs that with the ruins gone, there's nothing left to be done. He can't fathom Adelhide's motives, but since this man was his first magic teacher, he's just glad he didn't have to be the one to kill him. Our hero quietly wishes the man luck, just as the brunette girl pipes up, calling that elf a truly wicked person. He used to think elves were the ultimate intellectuals, but trashing ancient ruins for a bit of greed? That's just pathetic. Maya chimes in, asking if their legendary pride was just a mask for their stupidity. Realizing he'd let his own dark desires consume him was a living nightmare for Adelhide. But before he could sink deeper into despair, Maison's voice cuts through the tension. Maison checks in on our hero, who admits he's been stuck in bed for 2 agonizing days. He's desperate for a healing potion to stop the burning pain. Maison drops a bombshell. There's a massive bounty on a wanted criminal, and he's betting everything that Abel can take him down solo while he handles another mission. Maison brings up 2 guys who came begging for help, and Abel immediately wonders, are these the same idiots who started that massive brawl back at the guild? Mason flashes back to those 2 sprinting toward him with huge grins, cheering because they heard he finally climbed the ranks to E-class. He was totally blindsided by their excitement, but they quickly explained they'd been scouring the city for him ever since the chaos went down. Let's be real. Without him, these guys couldn't hunt a slime to save their lives, so they beg him to take charge and lead their squad once more. Maison is absolutely beaming and agrees to step up, making Maya jump for joy. But Abel can't help but wonder if these guys only care now that he's got a higher rank. Our hero admits he's a total pushover who can't say no to anyone, just as Maison shifts the focus back to that mysterious criminal everyone's whispering about. Deep inside the Marin clan's headquarters, the leader gathers everyone for a dire meeting, starting off with a shocking apology for a massive blunder. Abel left behind instructions for the frankincense leaves, but there's a catch. His technique is impossible for anyone else to replicate. The notes make it clear that Abel is the only one with the magic touch, sending his father, Zalrut Balak, into a spiraling rage. Zalrut's dreams of village fame and glory are crumbling right before his eyes just when he thought he finally had the winning hand. Suddenly, a man leaps to his feet, cackling like a maniac as he mocks the idea that these leaves are truly irreplaceable. It's Norman, the Carlco family head. And he's ecstatic because without Abel's competition, his family's leaves are destined to rule the market once more. He slams a bag of coins onto the table, swearing that anyone who dared to underestimate him is going to pay a heavy price. The room scoffs at his pettiness, warning him that customers won't just forget Abel's superior quality, even if this disaster plays right into the Carlco family's hands. Chief Marin scrambles for a solution, deciding to dilute Abel's remaining stock with inferior leaves to trick the public into accepting a new product. He realizes that as long as the magic coin system holds firm, the incense leaves have served their purpose in keeping the economy from collapsing. He whispered that their secret talks must stay hidden, because if the truth leaked, the entire city would explode into a violent riot. The leader promised the Rieta family's full support to build up the Carlcos, but he suddenly froze, sensing a bizarre surge of magic right outside. He shook it off, figuring every powerful mage in town was already inside waiting for Abel. It had to be his mind playing tricks on him. Suddenly, Totem tapped on the glass and perched on the sill, delivering a direct, urgent message from the congregation's high leader. The girl couldn't believe her father and the village chief had just given up on her brother, who was likely shivering in fear, lost in a strange and dangerous land. A plan flashed in her mind that would force the chief to restart the search, and she silently begged her brother to just hold on a little longer. It was Giselle, And with a confident smirk, she declared that his little sister was absolutely coming to save him. Deep within the smoke-choked corridors of the Kaidal Temple on the northern border, a man praised his ally for finally shattering the seal on the legendary staff. After ages in the dark, she asked the boy if he realized she was a high-ranking demon, and he stood his ground, identifying her as the terrifying Zolamonia, the demon of knowledge and destruction. Her eyes widened as she spotted a familiar spirit nearby. The last time they met, he was just a mid-tier weakling, but now he's evolved into something far more powerful. Zolamonia spins toward Magus and orders him to strike south, and when he asks for the target, she points him straight toward the city of Lomar. Deep within the western branch of the Adventurers Guild, a girl stares in disbelief at the gruesome trophies, the severed ear and hide of a notorious head-eating demon. The crowd erupts in whispers, questioning if this is truly the beast whose iron-tough skin has shattered countless blades. There's no way a kid like this took it down. Our hero stands frozen in silence while Maya beams, thinking they've finally hit the big time. But Abel knows this feeling is something far more sinister. Rumors spread like wildfire that he's a fraud who painted a random beast's ear black, or just stumbled upon a rotting corpse, while others claim the demon was never that strong to begin with. Abel realizes this isn't respect, it's suspicion, just as the administrator warns that verifying such legendary rare materials is going to take a massive amount of time. He can feel every hateful glare burning into his back, realizing that if he hits C rank, the higher-ups will be watching his every move like hawks. Most adventurers crave the glory of a high rank, but he just needs the cold, hard cash, and being famous will only make his secret missions impossible. Suddenly, a booming voice demands to know if a shrimp like him really killed the demon, as a massive wall of a man towers over him, growling that lying is a deadly sin. It's the infamous Gaston, and the guild staff scream at him to back off before his mountain of complaints finally gets him kicked out for good. Gaston barks that he's just doing his duty, claiming that too many fakes try to scam the guild for higher ranks, and he won't let these rookies push him around. He snarls that people like Abel are the reason true talent gets buried, but the man in glasses snaps back that ranking adventurers is the guild's job, not his. Gaston rants that the head-eating demon is way beyond a C-rank threat, and since Abel couldn't kill it, the guild's judgment is total garbage. But then Abel calmly asks what rank Gaston actually is. Two guys jump up to brag that Gaston is a D-rank legend, a veteran among veterans who's been stuck at the exact same rank for 10 whole years. Abel mocks him, asking if he really hasn't been able to rank up in a decade, causing the man to stammer an apology as the realization finally clicks for our hero. Abel realizes this guy is nothing more than a common thug with some muscle, lacking the looks or the charm to ever get hired by the nobility. Our protagonist scratches his chin with a devious smirk, already plotting exactly how he's going to exploit this situation. Abel turns to the loudmouth and suggests they take their chat to a quiet back alley to avoid making a scene, telling Maya to just stay put and wait for him. As they step outside, Gaston grunts that he's actually impressed. Abel has way more guts than he originally thought. Gaston demands to know if he's ready to fight, but Abel tells him to hold on because he just wants to talk, though the big guy isn't buying that for a second. Abel realizes that beating this guy to a pulp would only trigger more jealousy, so he plays it cool and claims he wasn't the one who hunted that demon. Gaston demands more than just an apology for the deception, but Abel quickly claims he was just cashing in rewards for a disgraced adventurer. He warns Gaston that the real hunter is a lethal shadow who might kill them both, though Abel secretly fears his lie is painfully obvious. Gaston lets out a huff, bragging that he knew the truth all along, while Abel silently thanks the heavens that this guy is such a complete idiot. The thug demands a bribe to keep the secret, but Abel shuts him down, insisting he needs every cent just to keep himself fed. Then, Abel throws a curveball, asking Gaston how he'd feel about being the one to trade in the monster materials next time. Abel explains that a weakling like him ranking up looks suspicious, but a mountain of a man like Gaston could do it without anyone questioning a thing. He offers Gaston a cut of the cash so they both get rich, and Gaston's jaw drops as he realizes he's about to rake in a fortune. Meanwhile, Gaston's crew brags that their boss is invincible while one creep pestered Maya, but she just smiles, knowing Abel is the one truly in control. Right then, The doors burst open and Gaston marches in, leaving his goons dying to know if he finally finished off that brat. Gaston blindsides one of the thugs with a brutal punch, roaring to know what the hell they're doing there. He snarls that making a girl cry is the lowest, most pathetic thing a man can do, leaving his stunned friends wondering why he's attacking them. Abel finally arrives and apologizes for the wait, while Gaston grills the boys on why they're so obsessed with gossiping about everyone else's success. They try to talk back, but he cuts them off, declaring he's about to beat some sense into their thick skulls, while Abel promises Maya a full explanation later. Later, over a hot meal, he reveals the truth. They can finally hunt monsters without any worries and use their massive payout to buy top-tier gear for the next raid. Abel starts listing off supplies and a lethal new blade, but Maya cuts in, demanding to know why he's suddenly obsessed with all this money. Abel insists it's just for daily costs and paying her back, but the moment he mentions the debt, she bolts upright from the table. She demands to know why he's so desperate to pay her back, tearfully asking if he's just trying to get rid of her for good. She breaks down, asking if she's too useless to stay and promising to work harder, while a panicked Abel tries to explain that's not it at all. Abel realizes she's haunted by the fear of abandonment, making him wonder what kind of dark past she's hiding from her hometown. Abel refuses to be a freeloading debtor to a girl, insisting he has a massive to-do list to tackle first, leaving Maya curious about his grand plans. He's dreaming of crafting magic tools from chimeras and golems, but his real goal? Inventing a handheld telephone right here in this fantasy world. Abel remembers a monster species that talks across vast distances using magical electromagnetic waves as their own private network. If he pulls this off, it'll be a global sensation, and while Abel is buzzing with excitement, Maya can't even wrap her head around the concept. Maya's stunned by his ambition, but a sudden rap on the window cuts them off. It's Mason, teasing them about how cozy they look together. Mason drops the act and asks Abel if anything felt off in the woods, prompting Abel to press him for more details. Maya brings up those gruesome headless fish they found by the river, but Abel figures it was just a hungry beast and nothing more. Mason reveals they were headed the other way until a sudden order forced all low-rank adventurers to retreat, a command Abel knows will hit the guild any second. Then comes the bombshell. The Lord's own detachment was brutally ambushed, and Abel demands to know exactly how it went down. They gear up to dive into the woods, and when Maya warns him that low ranks are banned, Abel reminds her that he's already crushed a B-rank Griffin before. That's exactly why we're in the clear. If that girl's story about an expedition for a living tree is true, then it's definitely hidden somewhere in this thicket. Maya realized that trekking through this place alone was suicide, but her heart skipped a beat when Abel suddenly jerked in pain. Abel admitted he'd mangled his leg, so they took a desperate break where he gulped down water while Maya hovered over him in total worry. He explained that his wand could detect any creepy magic nearby, but his arm was getting way too tired to keep it raised while they walked. Thinking fast, he summoned his totem to scout for mana signatures, even as Maya fretted over whether he was exhausted from supporting her. Abel told her to relax because his mana pool is basically infinite, finally putting her mind at ease as they prepared to move out. Maya asked if they could just teleport their heavy bags or warp straight to the forest's core, but Abel had to admit that specific magic was off the table. The World Tree Totem packs enough juice for massive teleports, but he'd need to set up a complex magic circle first to make it work. Abel could easily warp back to safety, but he refused to abandon her, even when she desperately offered to carry everything just to stay together. As they pushed on, Abel couldn't hide his hype for the demonic tree, dreaming of the insane power he'd gained by carving it into a new totem. Maya questions if this wood really came from a man-eating tree, but the guy ignores her, claiming high mana trees are common in the village despite being totally absent here. After crafting a legendary World Tree Totem, our hero decides it's time to build a combat-ready version, right as Maya spots a breathtaking flower. Abel identifies the rare papalga flower, noting that while it's usually red, this purple one is a sign that the surrounding magical energy is shifting its very color. Suddenly, a chilling voice demands they worship him as a god or perish, and Abel realizes this isn't sound. It's a telepathic command forced directly into their minds. A strange sound echoes as a twisted, incomprehensible entity manifests, looking less like a beast and more like a tree possessed by a literal demon. This is a tree possessed by a great spirit, a powerful entity that shatters into fragments and returns to the lesser spirits once it finally dies. Maya insults the creature by calling it an evil totem, sending the tree into a rage before our hero shouts for her to run. Abel scoffs at the tree's arrogance, promising to show it the the true power of his masterpiece as his loyal assistant appears by his side. The demonic tree unleashes a flurry of strikes, but the totem effortlessly dodges every single one, leaving the demon frustrated and Abel sensing its imminent collapse. The tree is left in total shock as the totem dodges again, and Abel reveals he's programmed a combat protocol that makes physical attacks completely useless against his creation. The demon snaps in a fit of rage, screaming that his totem is worthless as he unleashes a brutal, crushing assault. While Abel weighs his next move, Maya desperately demands to know what he's thinking. His World Tree totem is built for utility, not raw destruction, making him realize he needs a dedicated battle totem immediately. Maya panics, shouting that they can't just dodge these attacks forever if they want to survive. Abel remains eerily calm, admitting he's simply testing the waters to see which strike will finally bring this massive beast down. He notices the roots are moving way too slowly for a creature with this much mana, deducing that its power is spread too thin. And now he knows exactly how to break it. Maya sighs that Abel has nothing but totems on the brain, but suddenly the tree shrieks for the gale to rise, hurling a violent cyclone directly at them. The blast rips Abel's totem away and carves a massive scar into the earth as Maya screams his name. The tree mocks them, boasting that its true power absolutely dwarfs his pathetic little totem. Abel is caught off guard by the magical assault, realizing right then and there that his World Tree totem needs a serious upgrade to handle this level of combat. Abel summons his totem back in a flash, and Maya's tears of terror turn into pure joy. The tree stands frozen, absolutely stunned that he could recover so instantly. Abel declares that playtime is over, but the tree is baffled. How can a mere human talk with the authority of a god after wielding such high-level wind magic? Suddenly, the massive tree withers and collapses, its leaves raining down as Abel reveals he just dismantled the spirits within. It turns out his clan are the ultimate masters of spirit manipulation. He starts by inspecting the wood, realizing its magical conductivity is absolutely insane. This material is perfect for a piano, or he could even chop the roots and forge something entirely new. Once his work is done, he tells the girl to pay close attention. He's built a massive battle totem called the Ashura 5000, and with a single command, he makes the giant dance. He shows off his masterpiece, asking her if it isn't the most incredible thing she's ever seen. Maya is completely stunned, barely able to nod in agreement. She wonders where the name came from, and Abel reveals he's built nearly 5,000 of these things before. But then she realizes, how are they supposed to carry this massive giant with them? He explains that just like his World Tree, he can teleport this beast whenever he needs its power. Abel hopes this path proves they finish the quest. But more importantly, this tree is the key to building a phone. Now he just needs to stack some serious cash. Suddenly, Zolomonia's senses tingle, catching Megas's attention. She realizes her old friend's presence has vanished, wondering if he just teleported away. She questions if her magic sensing is failing her, or if she's just imagining things, so she brushes it off and says everything is fine. Then, Megas asks if they're finally heading to Lomar. Zolomonia agrees, declaring the warm-up over and it's time to move. She's hyped for the future and the massive changes they're about to unleash on the world. Back in bed, the protagonist sees a vision of Giselle telling him she's okay even though she's paralyzed. Then he sees Zolomonia and her student, leaving him completely baffled by these strange visions. As the sun rises over the Lomar Guild, one broken adventurer decides he's finally quitting, while his partner panics about how they'll survive without any skills or connections. They're drowning in weapon debt and don't even have enough gold for a single meal. But suddenly, a heavy hand claps him on the back. Our hero tells them to celebrate because Gaston just annihilated the monster nest in the north, and the hunting ban is finally being lifted. The guys snap back in a rage, telling him to stop spitting lies when they're this desperate for cash. But he looks them in the eye and swears he's telling the truth. The protagonist points toward the entrance and tells them to watch as Gaston marches in, clutching a massive, mysterious bundle. The crowd gasps in shock because there's no mistaking it. That's the same wind-blasting beast that slaughtered the last team sent after it. Everyone is stunned, wondering if a lowly D-rank like Gaston really pulled off this miracle, proving he was a legend in the making. The administrator rushes over to apologize for the wait, explaining that a kill this massive needs a special inspection, and Gaston simply nods in agreement. When asked for details, he coldly claims he can't remember every tiny detail about such pathetic monsters. leaving the crowd in absolute awe of his professional swagger. The administrator leads him to a special stand while Gaston demands they hurry it up, as the other adventurers realize they can finally return to the forest and keep their dreams alive. Our hero is relieved he stepped up to settle the matter quietly, though Maya can't shake the feeling that trouble is still brewing. Suddenly, the guild doors slam open as a man stumbles in, screaming for help against a mysterious and terrifying force. Panic erupts as the town realizes a new monster has claimed the forest, and they immediately start begging Gaston to save them. As the crowd chants his name, Gaston realizes he never wanted to be the villain. He just wanted to be the hero everyone relies on. "Leave it all to me," he shouts, leading a pack of fired-up adventurers into the fray to prove their legendary strength. But the excitement is cut short as Maison shoves through the mob, frantically telling our hero that something horrific has happened to Tide and Lisa. Maya's heart stops when she sees the devastating truth. Their friends have been completely transformed into lifeless stone statues. Our hero realizes they're facing a deadly mage, not a beast, just as the streets erupt with screams of people trying to outrun the petrifying curse. Maison points toward the villain's lair, knowing that when it comes to high-level magic, Abel is the only one who can save them now. They charge into the square only to find a graveyard of stone. Even Gaston and his entire squad have been turned into frozen statues. Maison spots a dark-haired kid perched on the roof and identifies him as the source. The magus just sneers, mocking their stupidity and promising they'll all end up as stone statues. Our hero instantly unleashes a massive wall of light magic. The boy deflects the blast with ease, proving right then and there that he's a powerful mage. The magus laughs, deciding it's time for some fun by crushing them with the supreme demon of Zillimonia's power. But the boy strikes back with a sudden burst of fire magic. Abel and the crew take cover behind Gaston's massive frame. Maison panics, asking if it's safe since these statues used to be people, but Abel insists they're fine as long as they stay petrified. If his body breaks, he'll transform into a nightmare when he reverts. Maison shudders at the thought, while Abel wonders how they can even fight when so many innocent lives are at stake. The magus taunts them, daring them to come out and play. Our hero warns him that his staff packs a lethal punch, hinting at a dark connection to demons. Analyzing the petrification circle, he realizes it's actually quite simple. The only way to break the curse and save everyone is to beat the caster within an inch of his life. Our hero steps up, determined to take charge because he knows this is no ordinary magic circle. Maison offers to be the bait to give Abel the opening he needs. Maya vows to cause total chaos, and Abel agrees. This is their best shot at survival. The magus mocks their fear, threatening to hunt them down himself. But right then, Abel's friends decide it's time to move out. They explode from behind the statue and scatter in every direction, screaming at the top of their lungs. Magus just sneers, mocking them for thinking they could ever outrun his wrath. While the enemy is distracted by the chaos, our hero teleports behind him and unleashes a devastating wind spell. A voice thunders out, calling Magus a complete fool for leaving his back wide open. Before he can even blink, the August of wind slams him into the sky and crashes him back down to the dirt. Our hero declares it's over. Without that staff, this guy is absolutely powerless. Pure rage boils within the magus, but our hero is shocked he even survived that massive impact. He realizes this guy's body is unnaturally tough, as the magus demands he acknowledge their shared connection as mages. Magus spits out his hatred for this rotten era, cursing the villagers who kicked him out just for seeking forbidden knowledge. He claims the world is broken, full of people who fear and despise the true power of magic. He looks to Abel for agreement, and while Abel nods, he can't help but wonder what went wrong in his own past. To make the world suffer, he shattered the seal on the ancient Zillimonia. Now he offers Abel a choice. Join him and watch the entire world drown in pure terror. Abel realizes both Adelhide and this madman are just lost souls looking for a place to belong. Even as a reincarnated soul in this world of magi, he knows he's lucky to have a mentor like Yamasan to guide him. Maison screams at him to ignore the villain's lies. Our hero knows better, but he decides to test the power of that staff before he even thinks about breaking the petrification curse. Suddenly, the terrifying Zolimonia manifests right before their eyes. She demands to know why Magoose is wasting time, and Abel realizes this demon is the one truly calling the shots. She shrugs off his words because she's bored out of her mind and decides to toy with our hero just for fun. Maya and Mason are totally confused, staring at the empty sky, while Abel barks orders to guard that staff and keep the mage's hands off it. Solomonia lunges forward, and Abel counters with a blast of true light magic, realizing she's casting without spells. She's definitely a demon. As Abel clashes with her, his friends grab the staff and finally see the girl, who laughs about how good it feels to unleash her magic after all this time. Abel can barely keep up with her insane speed as the demon cackles, mocking him and asking how much longer he can possibly survive. Magus cheers his mistress on to crush them, but a stray blast shatters the roof behind him, sending a massive sign crashing right onto his head. Abel is locked in combat when Mason runs up and yells to just blow her to bits. But Abel snaps back that he would have done that already if it were that easy. A massive blast would wipe out the whole village, so he has to stick to precision strikes, and Mason finally gets the memo. Abel desperately needs a way to pin her down and neutralize her godlike speed. And suddenly, Maya's eyes light up with a brilliant plan. Maya rushes over to Abel with a wild suggestion, and after a quick double check, he realizes exactly what they need to do. Zolomonia mocks him, asking how long he can keep up this pathetic defense, but Abel shuts her up by summoning his powerful totem. The moment it appears, the totem lunges at her, sending the demon girl scrambling back in shock as she recognizes the signature style of the Mering clan. She can sense the incredible mana radiating from it, realizing this isn't ordinary timber. It's crafted from the sacred bark of the world tree. A devious plan flashes through her mind, and with a few swift maneuvers, she laughs, claiming she's finally snared her prey. Her triumph is short-lived as a terrifying new totem made of demonic bark manifests right behind her, leaving her paralyzed with surprise. Zolomonia is hammered by a barrage of strikes, and Abel immediately commands Maya to ready her staff so he can unleash his demon seal. Suspended in the air, the girl is blasted by a beam of pure magic, shrieking for them to stop because she can't bear the thought of being sent back. The staff swallows the demon whole, and as Abel sighs about how exhausting this is, Zolomonia's mind races to figure out how a Meren clan member possessed such power. It finally clicks. This massive totem reeks of her old friend's aura, the one who vanished without a trace just before they set out. She begs him to stop talking, realizing he's from the Meren clan, but she's baffled how he could defeat her friend and seal her single-handedly. Our hero brings up the staff containing that sealed essence, listing all the twisted ways he could use it, and she's absolutely terrified. Right then, the petrification spell starts to shatter, and Maya warns him it's breaking. But he just mutters that this is bad, leaving Hazen totally confused. With the Adelhide disaster still fresh, mages are already hated, and being caught with the staff of Zolomonia would make him public enemy number 1. He hates to part with such power, but he refuses to lug that heavy thing around, so he decides it's better off buried deep in the dirt. Suddenly, Gaston snaps out of the spell and demands to know where the enemy is, just as the staff comes flying right at his face. As the crowd celebrates their freedom from the stone curse, they spot Gaston clutching the mage's staff and assume their legendary hero just saved the day. The crowd erupts in cheers, hailing him as their glorious savior and praising his incredible strength. Gaston is totally lost since his memory is a complete blank, and he starts wondering if some hidden godlike power finally woke up inside him. The mob starts chanting his name like he's a god, prompting Maya to ask Abel if this is okay. But he just scoffs that they're already forming a cult. Mizan can't believe a Class D loser did this and demands to know what Abel really did, but Abel just ignores him and joins the crowd in chanting Gaston's name. Gaston's name echoed across the entire kingdom of Dinroth, but his glory was a ticking time bomb destined for disaster. Deep within the Kudal library in Asim, Maya scoffs, realizing this villain was pure evil for trying to bring those nightmare monsters back to life. Abel hushes her instantly, warning her not to insult the local gods since these people worship mage amulets with a logic all their own, forcing a quick apology from Maya. This massive library belongs to the Kudal faith, a surprisingly chill religion in Dinrod. But there's a secret reason our heroes traveled this far from Lomar. After a wicked mage petrified an entire village, Gaston's heroic reputation exploded way beyond Lomar, even catching the eye of the king himself. Queen Charlotte, the fierce fourth ruler of Dinrad, just promoted Gaston to be the elite commander of her personal guard. Gaston is a total fraud with zero skills, but now that the stakes are deadly, he's grabbing his mountain of gold and making a run for it. Maya wonders how he's holding up, while Abel predicts everyone will spot his lack of combat skill. He just hopes the queen doesn't execute him for the lie. Gaston is praying he survives the day, marveling at just how much of a resilient survivor he really is. Queen Charlotte is using Gaston's fake fame to crush her rivals for the throne, so she's forced to keep this powerless fraud by her side at all costs. Gaston didn't have a clue what was happening since he'd been turned to stone, but thanks to his insane luck and massive ego, he started playing the part of a legendary hero perfectly. Maya demands to know what they're hunting for, and Abel reveals he's searching for a magical artifact to supercharge his megaphone's signal range. When she asks for details, he explains he's building a magical long-distance smartphone that lets people talk to anyone, anywhere on the planet. While Abel digs through the clutter, Maya dives into her books to stay productive, and before they know it, 3 whole hours have vanished. Abel realizes that these ancient Dre alphabets are a total nightmare to crack, filled with complex ciphers from master mages that would take forever to transcribe. This book by the late alchemist Altamaya is especially brutal. It's packed with fascinating info, but it feels like the author wrote it just to mock anyone trying to read it. This alchemist is a total genius, and Abel wishes he could find someone his own age to geek out with. But unless you're an elf or a dragon, nobody stays that fresh after 80 years. Suddenly, Maya shouts for him to come over and shows him a shocking discovery: the personal diary of Wigner from the Yoruba people. Abel's interest is piqued instantly, asking if she's talking about that grumpy, bald old man they met back during the Zesham Ruins expedition. Maya gushes about how the old man battled a dragon for 3 days and nights until he finally slayed it. But Abel is convinced this story is at least 500% exaggeration. Finally leaving the library, our hero vents his frustration over the no-borrowing rule, though he's already itching to return tomorrow. Maya argues that a high adventurer rank grants unlimited access to these halls, pushing him to stop hiding his power and finally level up. He shoots back that fame is just a cage full of problems, but his rant is cut short when a girl suddenly spots him. It's Shime, the F-rank adventurer they first met through Mason back when they were leaving Lomar. She mentions her love for studying despite the library's brain-melting books, so Maya points her towards some easier adventure novels. Maya then recommends a strange book called Wigner's Diary, leaving our protagonist questioning her sanity. Shimey reveals that a shadowy new organization has appeared in Lomarn, asking if they know anything about these newcomers. She describes them as having twin horns and gems on their foreheads, even teasing Maya about her lack of head jewelry. The realization hits like a truck. Horns and gems mean the demon race has officially infiltrated Lomarn. Maya begins to shake uncontrollably, her voice trembling as she asks how they found her. She's clearly in deep, deep trouble. Suddenly the girl collapses, hitting the ground cold. Our hero screams her name, his heart racing with pure terror. Fury erupts in Marin Village as the people realize their leaf production is dead. They were promised mass production, and there's no way they're settling for those trash Carlco leaves now. During a heated meeting, the villagers realize Carlco is desperately trying to reclaim his monopoly. It's a pathetic move, because once you've had Abel's leaves, nothing else even compares. They confront the village headman, warning him that the chaos will only get worse. The headman sighs, admitting they're backed into a corner with no way out. Deep in the shadows of the forest, Chazelle watches the chaos unfold with a wicked grin. Everything is playing out exactly according to Shim-sen's master plan. The girl is convinced this will force them to hunt for her brother, just as a mysterious boy appears by her side. He questions her about this Shim person she's obsessed with, sensing a dark, sinister energy radiating from that magic book. She completely ignores his warning, her mind filled with visions of her brother as she begs him to just hold on a little longer. The heroes huddle around Maya's bed as she finally wakes up, only for her to drop a bombshell story about terrifying demons. It turns out Maya is the daughter of the Doom Tribe's chieftain, but because she lacked their signature forehead crystal, her own family kept her locked away like a shameful secret. Maya seized her chance when a merchant named James rolled into town, sneaking into his cart and persuading him to take her along until she finally met Abel. Maya reveals her family treated her like a lost object while the local kids bullied her for being crystal-less, trapping her inside like a prisoner. She spent every waking moment dreaming of freedom and finding a real companion, so meeting James and Abel was like a dream come true. With a bittersweet smile, Maya admits that even though life with Abel has been a series of disasters, it's 1,000,000 times better than just rotting away in a house where she barely felt alive. Abel watches her closely, realizing he completely misjudged her. He always thought she was just terrified of being on her own. The heartbreak continues as Maya recalls her father's cold, burning hatred. She was nothing but a disgrace to him, making it impossible to believe he'd ever actually come looking for her. Suddenly, Maya's voice shakes as she blurts out that she knows Abel is only there for the gold, but she doesn't care about the cost as long as they keep traveling together. Her knuckles turn white as she grips the blanket, trembling with fear while she begs not to go back home, leaving Abel frozen in a heavy, suffocating silence. Abel's mind races back to his father's from both lives. One was cold and indifferent while the other was suffocatingly sweet, but neither one ever dared to stand in the way of his dreams. Abel speaks her name, catching her off guard, and declares that if her village is such a hellhole, she should just wipe it from her memory forever. Abel declares with a grin that even if Maya's father hunts them down, they'll just keep running and exploring the world side by side. Sham brushes away her tears and vows to back the heroes up, but Abel warns that they're way too easy to spot and that witnesses are leading the enemy straight to them. Abel wants to vanish into a hidden sanctuary immediately, but he's dying to scour the city library for just a bit more knowledge first. Shimi's mind is racing as she realizes Maya and Abel need a perfect hideout where they can disappear and master their magical research in peace. Suddenly, we're deep in the woods at the edge of the Marlene tribe's territory, where a massive, restless crowd has assembled. The air is thick with chatter as the Marlene tribe prepares a search party to hunt for Abel, while their leader stands tall, scanning the faces of his people. Because Abel is the only one who knows the secret to growing incense tobacco, the tribe has shattered an ancient law forbidding anyone from leaving. Abel's father shares a heavy goodbye with his wife as she stays behind, and Gina pleads with her husband and daughter to stay safe in the unknown. Giselle grips her magical grimoire tight, promising her mother that they won't stop until Abel is back where he belongs. Nearby, a chubby boy keeps a close eye on Abel's family before turning his gaze toward Philo. The boy pulls Philo aside, whispering that Giselle is acting totally bizarre lately. When Philo asks for proof, he reveals that she's been caught talking to her book and acting like a completely different person. Philo explains that the book is a family heirloom from their grandfather, and ever since Abel vanished, his sister has been obsessively grinding her magic skills to find him. To Philo, her grief-stricken behavior makes perfect sense. The boy isn't buying it for a second, but Philo immediately snaps at Abel. She demands he spill the truth right now, especially after he terrified the whole village by disappearing without a single word. A woman turns to the village elder, her voice trembling as she asks if they're making a massive mistake. The elder's face darkens into a grim, heavy frown. She reminds him that they are shattering a taboo that has stood for centuries just to find Abel. But the elder stands firm, convinced that this is the only path they can take. A terrifying horde of demons swarms the western gate of the trading city, Romano. A scout rushes to the chieftain, panting as he delivers urgent intel from the front lines. The scout reports that Maya is making a break for a seam in a cart, and the chieftain knows it's a 2-day trek on foot. Even more shocking, she's traveling with a mysterious white-haired boy from the legendary Marlin tribe. The demon chieftain stares into the distance, completely baffled. He can't wrap his head around why a tribe that never leaves its land would suddenly rip up an ancient covenant. He barks out an order for the squad to intercept them at a seam immediately. The demons vanish into the shadows of the forest, hunting their prey with lethal speed. Suddenly, a city guard blocks the path, shouting that they aren't going a single step further. The demons are stopped dead in their tracks by guards who warn them the path is blocked after a monster's rampage left the cliff ready to crumble. The demons refuse to stop, laughing off threats of arrest for rebellion because Dimrath's laws don't mean a damn thing to them. Enraged by their defiance, the guard reaches for his spear, only for the demon to fix him with a soul-piercing glare from beneath his hood. The guard freezes in confusion as the demon grabs the spear midair and yanks it toward him with violent strength. The guard is slammed into the dirt and sent tumbling back, leaving the entire crowd paralyzed with shock. A deafening roar suddenly erupts from the gorge, making every guard whip around in pure panic. A gargantuan boulder hurtles down the cliffside, and as the crowd freezes in terror, the demons shout for their leader to act. As the massive rock closes in, the demon leader launches himself into the air and clenches his fist for a devastating strike. A thunderous explosion shatters the silence as rock shards rain down, leaving the guards staring at the sky in absolute disbelief. The demon leader drops back to the earth, landing perfectly as a massive cloud of dust billows around him. His hood slips, exposing wicked horns and a glowing crystal as the demon clenches his fist, swearing he'll find Maya. Peace settles over the city as citizens crowd the markets, while Abel and Maya toil away in the fields just beyond the walls. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Abel, making him snap his head up to see who's there. The feudal lord himself approaches, admitting the butler tipped him off about their hard work in the fields. Abel reveals he's analyzing the soil to solve the lord's magical plant crisis and find a way to save the crops. The lord is shocked that a beast hunter knows botany, but Abel bashfully explains he studied plants back home and isn't a pro slayer. The lord looks skeptical, reminding him of the massive rewards for slaying beasts. But Abel fires back that he doesn't care about fame or money. He's just grateful for a quiet place to sleep in Farch, the western border city Sheem told them to hide out in. For 6 long weeks, terrifying monsters have laid siege to the city, cutting off every single path to the outside world. A monstrous 3-headed serpent towers over Abel as a haunting memory of their brutal battle flashes back. The serpent is dead, and with the beast finally slain, the feudal lord and the villagers swarm Abel and Maya with overwhelming gratitude. Abel tosses 3 of the monsters' heads to the townspeople and rejects the gold, asking only for a place to stay and for their heroic deeds to remain a total secret. Since trade is dead in this wasteland, Abel demands a private lab and supplies, and the Lord promises to have it all ready by sunset for the man who saved them all. Abel kicks back with his hands behind his head, satisfied that they've secured a base, while Maya keeps apologizing for dragging him to the middle of nowhere. Abel tells her to stop worrying because he's actually loving the setup. He's got a powerful ally in the Lord, and a perfect sanctuary to continue his secret research. He's discovered that the local soil is surging with a bizarre magical energy, unlike anything back home, and solving the mystery of the crop failure could lead to a massive breakthrough. Maya is shocked he's into farming, but Abel explains that his magic is fueled by the power of nature as he starts geeking out over medicinal herbs. Maya admits she's completely lost in the technical talk, but she's just thrilled to see Abel finally finding something he's passionate about. The duo sets off with a smile as Abel boldly declares that he's going to spark a brand new revolution of magic right here in the wilderness. Out in the fields, a farmer whispers that the new mage is a total creep, but his buddy just stares back, reminding him that the guy literally slaughtered a 3-headed dragon. Just outside the massive walls of Romanu, the Marden tribesmen collapse in total exhaustion, whispering in fear that the deadly ban is still very much alive. "Leave the village and you'll regret it." Those chilling words haunt them as they desperately scramble to escape the claws of bloodthirsty magical beasts. They can't forget the horrific monsters lurking in the city. But the real nightmare is that those creatures were actually humans transformed into something unrecognizable. These broken warriors are starving on a diet of rotting tobacco leaves, dreaming of home-cooked meals, while Abel's father desperately tries to ignite a spark of hope in their souls. Philo is absolutely disgusted by how pathetic the adults have become, knowing only Giselle had the guts to fight off the monsters. Which makes sense, considering she's Abel's sister. Philo's blood boils because the elders are forcing the kids to do all the scouting, and despite rumors of Abel being nearby, they're still coming up empty-handed. Giselle ventures deep into the shadows of the woods, standing solitary at the forest's edge as she flings open her grimoire to unleash a powerful spell. With the squad's morale hitting rock bottom and the mission on the verge of collapse, a mysterious voice suddenly echoes from the pages of her book. The book commands her to stay put, promising that a sign is coming to lead them straight to Abel, leaving a trembling Giselle to wait under the rising moon. We now find ourselves in the sprawling fields of the Feud-Farge Age territory. The sky opens up in a torrential downpour as Abel shields his eyes, screaming that there's no time to lose. This brutal rain is about to destroy the precious pumpkin crops he worked so hard to grow, while Maya begs him to retreat before he catches his death. Abel conjures a massive magical totem and dives inside, telling a confused Maya that he's going to blast those storm clouds right out of the sky. He rockets into the atmosphere, unleashing a surge of mana to command the winds to tear the storm apart. In a flash of light, the dark clouds vanish into thin air. The farmers cheer at the sudden sunshine, though some whisper in fear of his power. But Abel just laughs and declares that for him, the impossible is easy. But the very next morning, Abel is completely bedridden, shivering and soaked in sweat from a brutal fever. Abel gasps out his final goodbyes to a terrified Maya, only for the local doctor to roll his eyes and snap that it's just a common cold. Abel is convinced he's at death's door, but the doctor orders him to stay out of the fields and rest, leaving Maya weeping with pure relief. As Abel mopes about his precious pumpkins, Maya comforts him with the news that a legendary world tree totem is already guarding the crop. Abel is out cold, while Maya is slumped over his bedside, whispering sweet promises that everything's gonna be just fine. Out of nowhere, a glowing spark ignites right on Maya's forehead. Wild currents of magic surge through the air, and even though Abel is still dreaming, his mind starts to sharpen like a blade. A bolt of pure energy streaks across his bed and blasts right out the window. That thread of power tears across the city and shoots into the heavens, forming a massive, glowing target in the clouds. The demons and Giselle are left speechless as they stare up at the blinding symbol burning in the night. Dawn breaks, and Abel wakes up with a groan, his head spinning, until a sudden, brilliant realization hits him like a lightning bolt. Abel bolts upright, shouting that he's done wasting time, jolting Maya wide awake. He scrambles into his clothes and sprints out, yelling about a dream seal while a baffled Maya wonders if he's actually healed yet. Out in the mountains of the Farge's estate, Maya is nearly blown away by the sheer force of the magical gales. The girl's eyes go wide with shock, her voice completely failing her as she watches the chaos unfold. Abel claps his hands in pure triumph, absolutely thrilled that his seal actually worked. He tells Maya the genius idea hit him in a dream, but she's shaking with fear, terrified of the feudal lord's inevitable rage. As Abel rambles about naming his new tech, a massive pillar of magic erupts in the distance, catching the eyes of the lurking demons. Perched on a jagged cliff, the demon leader smirks at his squad, declaring that he's finally tracked Maya down. The demon glares at the sky, his body tensed and ready for a fight. Outside the walls, farmers spot mysterious smoke rising from the mountains, only to be interrupted by a group of sinister strangers closing in. These aren't humans, they're bloodthirsty demons. Maya screams that the Lord is going to lose his mind over the damage, but Abel casually promises to fix it all later with a construction totem. He gives a carefree grin and asks for breakfast since he's starving, but just as Maya agrees, she catches a terrifying movement out of the corner of her eye. Our heroes gaze down at the city from the cliffside, and Maya notices the morning air is already buzzing with an eerie commotion. Suddenly, a villager rushes up to Maya and Abel to announce they have visitors, whispering to his friend if this was the girl they were looking for. A horde of demons is closing in on them at breakneck speed. Maya stands paralyzed, her heart sinking as pure terror takes over. The demon leader glares down at her with a cold, judgmental scowl, leaving Maya trembling and unable to find her words. She cowers behind Abel and utters the word father, sending a shockwave of disbelief through Abel's entire body. The demon's voice booms as he calls out his daughter's name with chilling authority. He looms over Maya, demanding that she return home immediately. Maya stays silent, but Abel suddenly thrusts his arm out to block the demon's path. Abel demands to know what he's after, questioning why he's playing the concerned parent now after leaving his own daughter to die. Abel snaps that Maya is never going back and orders the demon to back off, while Maya stares at her father in pure terror as the demon questions if Abel is part of Marlene's bloodline. The demon reveals that Maya's hidden power is finally waking up, leaving Abel completely baffled as the monster snarls for him to move or die. As Maya's father creeps toward them with menacing intent, Abel desperately weaves a complex magical seal to trigger a high-speed teleportation spell. Suddenly, a massive, ancient totem slams into the earth right in front of our heroes with a deafening thud. The demons are caught completely off guard, staring at the mysterious object in total shock. Abel snatches Maya's hand and pulls her into the totem before diving in himself, sending the massive pillar screaming into the sky above the trees. It streaks across the horizon like a comet, putting massive distance between them and the battlefield. The heavy totem finally crashes back to Earth, embedding itself deep within the thick forest. Abel and Maya scramble out of the wreckage, realizing peace was never an option. But then, their blood runs cold as they freeze in absolute horror. Maya's father has already tracked them down, obliterating everything in his path with raw magic to corner them once again. Abel's jaw drops as he stares at the impossible sight before him. In a heartbeat, the demon closes the gap and corners them. Abel's heart pounds as he realizes there's no escape. It's time for a life-or-death battle. Abel grills Maya on whether he should take down her father or if she's ready to surrender, leaving her trembling in tears. Maya screams that she's never going back, and Abel instantly commands the earth itself to shatter. A violent explosion rips through the air, hurling debris at the demons while Maya's father desperately shields his face. Abel wastes no time and summons his totem, Asher, to join the slaughter. The totem lunges with lethal intent, and the demon leader barely avoids getting torn apart. Abel is absolutely shocked that Maya's father can actually track Asher's godlike movements. The demon stays on the offensive, locked in a high-speed clash against the powerful totem. He slams his fist into the earth with such insane force that the ground shatters, launching Ashur a high into the sky amidst a storm of jagged rock. Abel commands the very soil to rise up and serve as his ultimate shield. A massive wall of solid stone erupts from the ground to protect the totem. Maya's father strikes with lethal precision, skewering his enemy in a flash of brutal attacks. Suddenly, the totem lunges forward, catching the demon completely off guard from the shadows. Maya's father spins around, effortlessly parrying Asura's lightning-fast strikes. 5 colossal orbs of pure magical energy loom ominously in the sky right above Abel. He unleashes his devastating secret technique, Heed in Magametal. A massive spear of energy rains down, aiming straight for Maya's father. As the dust settles, Abel stares at the crater where the demon stood, questioning if he just unleashed too much power. Maya's father bursts through the swirling cloud of dust and debris. Abel and the demon are locked in a lethal standoff as Maya's father realizes this Marlene mage is a true master of the mystic arts. Abel channels his power and summons the totem back into the fray. Ashura lunges from the shadows, desperate to pin the demon down. The demon whips around, his eyes burning with pure, unadulterated rage. With a blood-curdling scream, he slams his fist right into the totem. The instant his hand connects, the totem shatters into useless pieces. Terror grips Abel's heart as he stares at the monster before him. Maya turns her desperate gaze toward her father. Abel screams out the totem's name as the demon towers over the broken body of Ashura. Abel channels his power and summons a violent swirling wind. A colossal tornado erupts right in front of Maya's father, blocking his path. As the storm fades, the demon stares at nothing but empty air. Maya and Abel have vanished. Sprinting through the woods, Abel reels from that terrifying display of power, while Maya apologizes for her father shattering his totem, leaving Abel wondering if pure magic was the only way he could have crushed that mystical tree so easily. Maya explains the totem was forged with an ancient generational secret, but Abel reveals that his own mentor was a master of that very same art. This wooden doll technique is a high-level combat art that pumps raw magic through a totem to grant insane strength, a skill so complex that barely anyone in the Marlene clan can pull it off. Abel notes that it takes surgical precision and a special amulet to control, admitting that even he failed to master it, leaving Maya absolutely stunned. Abel thought it was a shortcut to power, but his failed attempts left him bedridden for a week in agony, proving that body enhancement is a whole different beast compared to normal magic. Abel is desperate to uncover how the Doom Clan handles their massive power spikes to find a weakness. But when he asks Maya about their secret tools, she draws a complete blank. Maya mentions a legend that the crystals in their foreheads let them sense spirits in the atmosphere, wondering if that kind of raw energy can actually be tamed through meditation. Maya hangs her head in apology for not having the crystal or the answers Abel needs, making him wonder if she was banned from using magic long ago. Burning with curiosity, Abel wonders if it was pure hatred or just her lack of a crystal that held her back, while Maya stares at the ground in silence. Abel realizes that if these crystals track energy this easily, her father must have locked onto their unique magical totems in an instant. Guilt-ridden, Abel apologizes for his magic giving them away, but Maya quickly insists he's not to blame. Maya is baffled by the Doom Clan's relentless pursuit, but Abel knows that if they stay put, they're sitting ducks. With Ashura gone, the demons are outrunning them, and Abel knows that casting even a single spell will light up their location like a flare. Suddenly, the group grinds to a halt as a shadow falls over Maya's face while she stares into the distance. Emerging from the shadows, her father stands before them once more. Abel glares at the demon with iron resolve and admits defeat, knowing he's too weak to win this fight. The demon stays silent as Abel honors Maya's decision, sending the monster into a quiet, boiling rage. Maya whips out a hidden blade, her knuckles turning white as she grips it with desperate strength. She shrieks at her father that she's never going back, swearing she'd rather die right here than return to that prison. The demon scoffs, muttering that she's just putting on a pathetic show and doesn't have the guts to go through with it. Abel roars that he's the most pathetic father alive for pushing his own daughter to this breaking point. Abel keeps lashing out, revealing that the Duma clan ignored her feelings and left her to rot in isolation while she dreamed of freedom, making the demon's face twist in rage. The hero shares that he had 2 fathers, one who let him be and another who nagged him to train. But because he had his freedom, he could handle it all. Abel keeps pressing, shouting that since the demon kept her caged, going back is a fate worse than death, leaving her with only one way to resist. Maya presses the cold steel right against her throat. Abel snatches his wand and vows that if she can't do it, he'll end her life himself, because his magic is faster than the demon can ever move. Maya's father lets out a furious curse and lunges straight for Abel. Not long ago, the heroes cooked up a genius scheme where Maya would put on a show to exploit her father's only weakness, his desperate need to keep her safe. Abel handed her the blade, betting that if they could just get under the old man's skin, his focus would shatter and they could turn his own rage against him. Abel commands the very ground to rise up and serve as his ultimate shield. A glowing magic seal ignites, and a massive stone barrier erupts between Abel and the demon. Maya's father slams into the wall with such terrifying force that it instantly explodes into rubble. Abel channels his power, forcing the entire earth to tremble with a violent quake. The ground literally splits wide open right beneath the demon's feet. A blinding vortex of dust swirls around the beast, but his instincts scream as he whips around to face a new threat. Emerging from the heart of the chaos, another mysterious totem flickers into existence. This is a sacred totem from the World Tree, infused with Abel's own mana and teleported directly onto the battlefield. Abel's trap is working perfectly. The distracted demon completely mistakes the totem's surging energy for Abel's own power. Abel starts chanting a new incantation, summoning the ancient spirits of the earth to rise up right this second. He orders the spirits to capture Maya's father, and they burst from the soil to trap the demon in an instant. Massive coils of raw energy wrap around Maya's father, binding him tight. No matter how hard he struggles, he's completely paralyzed. Abel morphs his Hedi Mega Metal technique, forging it into a lethal magical whip. He dubs this devastating new move, Abel's Whip. With a flick of his wand, he lashes out, sending the demon crashing through the trees with a colossal swing. Abel towers over the fallen leader of the Doom clan, Mirzef, and demands an answer. He looks him dead in the eye and asks, "Why were you hunting Maya?" The demon stands in chilling silence as Maya watches her father, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and desperate hope. Abel reveals they traded Maya's stolen jewels for a mystical tree in the city of Romana, all while a glowing totem hovers over his shoulder, making the demon's face twist in a dark scowl. Abel deduces the demons were tracking the magical residue of Ashura, the wooden doll Maya's father pulverized. But the demon snarls that he has absolutely nothing to say to a pathetic magician. Suddenly, the demon's face contorts in agony as he lets out a bone-chilling scream, a violent magical field erupting around him, while Abel watches in shock that he still has the will to resist. Mirzef shatters his restraints and lunges straight for Abel's throat, but the mage instantly summons a magical whip to ensnare the charging demon. The whip coils around Mirzef again, slamming him onto his knees right before Abel with a bone-rattling crash. Abel is struggling to stay upright, gasping for air as he demands to know how Mirzef can still find the strength to fight with a body full of shattered bones. The demon rasps out a question, asking if Abel's metal-bending power comes from Maya, just as Abel's whip morphs its shape with a level of god-tier control that seems impossible. Abel is completely baffled, but the demon explains he saw a sign in the heavens last night, the awakening of Maya's power, just as the ancient prophecy foretold. Mirzef adds that Abel must have realized he's tapping into Maya's raw magical energy, yet the demon still can't figure out what the magician is truly after. Abel presses for answers, totally lost, as Maya turns her desperate gaze toward her father. A heavy silence hangs in the air before Maya's father finally speaks, shocked that they're completely clueless. With a grim expression, the demon begins to unravel a dark and ancient history. 4,000 years ago, the guardian god Kudur waged a brutal war against the wicked sky god Silphamami, sealing him away on the moon before collapsing into a deep, restorative slumber. Abel questions why they're hearing this old legend, but the demon reveals that this secret is known only to the elves of the heavenly kingdom. He drops a bombshell. The Doom clan are the direct descendants of a race forged by the heavenly god himself, leaving Maya and Abel completely speechless. Silpheim birthed the Doom clan for one reason, to destroy the god Kudur, even as he was being banished to his lunar prison. Mirzef reveals that just before his defeat, Silpheim cast the clan's ancestors into this world, binding their very souls into a living grimoire. Abel's heart races as he demands to know, what on earth is a living grimoire? Mirzef delivers the ultimate shocker. That living grimoire is none other than Maya herself. Long ago, the god Kudur granted the Doom clan a home in Dimrath, earning their undying loyalty, a secret hidden even from the elves. But Mirzef reveals the sky god is now fueling his rebirth on the moon. A dark prophecy known only to a select few claims that after 2 millennia, a child of the Doom tribe will be forged into the sky god's ultimate weapon. Abel cuts him off mid-sentence. He demands to know how Mirzef tracked down the evil god's location. but the demon simply points to a lunar festival that even the isolated Marlene clan couldn't miss. Every 5 centuries, the moon screams toward the earth, supercharging the magic of every living soul in a global celebration known as the Moon Festival. Abel realizes that massive event happened just 6 months ago, and Maya remembers the towns buzzing with preparation as the trade routes reopen. The demon grills the heroes about the surge of bloodthirsty monsters ravaging the land, leaving Abel and Maya completely stunned. Abel flashes back to the monster invasion in Romana where he first met Maya, realizing that this level of supernatural chaos hasn't been seen in over a century. Maya's mind races back to Nalgarn, the one who choked off the vital trade routes to Farge Fifth. Merzif declares the Doom Clan has abandoned the Creator God because his return spells pure destruction, and that's exactly why they had to lock Maya away. Merzif explains that the Doom tribe gambled everything on a shamanic barrier just to keep Maya hidden until the lunar festival, leaving Maya demanding to know why her father kept her in the dark. Maya explodes in rage, screaming that the truth would have saved her from years of hating her family. But Mirzef just stands there in stone-cold silence. Flashing back to holding his infant daughter, Mirzef confesses that 15 years ago, his duty as a leader demanded he execute the threat she posed to the world. But he just couldn't do it. With a voice dripping in bitterness, he admits that letting his own daughter live was his greatest moment of weakness. Horror washes over Maya as the sickening truth sinks in. She's destined to be the ultimate weapon to resurrect a literal evil god. Rewinding to a day ago deep in the mountain pass, a sinister voice from a grimoire tells Abel's sister Giselle that the glowing omen in the sky is the perfect sign. Giselle tracks her brother's location to the lawless thief's territory, telling the book she can feel his massive magical signature radiating from the land. The grimoire lets out a wicked cackle, stunned by how perfectly every piece of his twisted plan is falling into place. Sim, the dark spirit lurking within the pages, isn't just coming for Abel. He's planning to possess the girl too. Clinging to hope, Giselle smiles at the thought that her brother Abel is finally ready to come back home. She steps right to the cliff's edge, staring into the horizon and whispering that she's finally coming for Abel. A chilling realization hits Maya. She's destined to be the ultimate weapon to resurrect a dark, malevolent god. She trembles, wondering if her father was right. Is she truly the harbinger of doom for the whole kingdom? And did a divine power secretly twist Abel's magic this whole time? Maya stares at Abel, her heart racing as she wonders if he's horrified to have served an evil deity, and if he'll abandon her forever. She stammers out his name, her voice shaking with fear, while the magician looks back with a cold, piercing gaze. Suddenly, his face transforms with pure joy as he shouts that Maya is absolutely magnificent. Maya is frozen in total shock, and even her father is left scratching his head at Abel's bizarre reaction. Abel turns to the demon, realizing that if the rumors are true, Maya is the key for the heavenly god to unleash his power upon the world. He brags that Maya's presence fueled his genius, allowing him to craft devastating spells he once thought were just fever dreams. Abel beams with gratitude, thanking Maya for unknowingly letting him tap into a god's power, leaving her completely stunned by his twisted logic. Maya looks him in the eye and asks if he's terrified she'll ruin the kingdom, but Abel just grins, saying this kind of chaos is way too thrilling to miss. Abel suddenly grips her shoulders, begging her to stay by his side, while Maya's eyes fill with tears, and her father's expression turns deadly serious. Abel declares that now that the truth is out, there's absolutely no reason for them to keep fighting each other. The mage vows to keep Maya safe and even calls Mirzef father, making the old man explode in rage while Maya turns bright red. Mirzef cuts through the noise and demands to know if Abel actually has a strategy for what comes next. 20 minutes later, the group arrives at the Farge estate, where a frantic feudal lord rushes out, desperate to know what the hell is happening. The lord demands to know why the nearby mountain is in ruins, leaving Abel speechless as a terrified peasant points right at the demons standing behind him. The estate owner labels the demons as suspicious guests, but Abel just laughs it off, claiming he's the one who invited them. A deafening silence falls over the estate as the Lord and his people stare at the mage in absolute shock. Abel introduces Mirzef as a farming expert brought in to fix the crops, but the confused Lord asks why there were massive explosions rocking the fields. Abel lets out a nervous laugh, apologizing for the mess, and explaining he had no idea when the Lord would show up because his schedule is absolutely packed. But the villagers aren't buying it, with one peasant shouting that it looked like Abel was launching a full-blown assault on Merzif. Panicking, Abel claims he was just digging deep to analyze the soil, calling the silent demon his teacher to cover his tracks. Abel begs for forgiveness and vows to fix the destruction with his magic, even as the Lord fumes that being a hero doesn't give him the right to wreck the place. Without wasting a second, the young mage prepares to craft a powerful magical tool to restore the land. He touches the bark of a fallen tree and realizes it's drained of life, making him miss the vibrant, energy-rich soil of Marlene's village. Mirzev snaps at Abel, demanding to know why he's wasting time when they need to find a solution before their luck runs out. The demon warns him that every second they stall brings the awakening of the terrifying heavenly god one step closer. Without a barrier to hide them, their mana will leak into the sky and alert the god's deadly subordinates, meaning they need to get out of there fast. Abel lunges at Mirzev, desperate for answers about this mysterious barrier, but the demon just tries to shove the persistent kid away. The demon whips out a mysterious hexagonal artifact and thrusts it into Abel's hands. This ancient relic was salvaged from the ruins, and its power will skyrocket once it hits clan territory. So Abel inspects the glowing treasure with intense focus. Abel realizes this relic is too weak to hold a barrier, claiming a mage of his caliber would shatter it instantly, leaving Mirzev desperate for a plan while Abel admits he's no expert in barrier spells. Gripping the artifact, Abel demands more intel and orders a retreat to the village for research, calling on the Doom clan to clear their path. Maya sprints to Abel's side as he recruits her to forge the World Tree Totem, and with a flash of teleportation magic, a glowing seal and totem manifest right as Mirzev lunges toward him. The demon suddenly intercepts the mage, leaving Maya and Abel completely stunned by the interruption. Mirzev reveals he's felt this wood golem energy before, questioning if the artifact and the totem are actually forged from the exact same material. Abel is shocked to discover the artifact's core is actually the world tree itself, a fact hidden until now by its battered and broken exterior. The mage wonders if that massive seal in the sky led Mirzev straight to them, noting that if Abel's reaction to Maya's power was the cause, they should have been hunted down months ago. The heroes suddenly remember Abel's fever dream in the hotel, where he accidentally unleashed a massive magic circle while falling under Maya's unconscious influence. Mirzev reveals that 2 months ago, Maya's pursuers were completely oblivious to any signs. Abel realizes the world tree is actually generating a massive hidden barrier. Maya remembers nothing happened last night, but Abel explains it's all about distance. The totem was way out in the fields, too far from the heroes to work. Abel explains the totem was built to hide from monsters, and if the world tree boosts barriers, then the totem's power is about to skyrocket. The mage realizes this is a lead worth chasing while Maya stares at the totem in total awe. With glowing eyes, Maya claims their meeting was destiny since they found the tree together in Romano, but Abel suddenly remembers he never actually paid her for it. Mirzev wants to start researching the tree right now, but April has business to finish, until Mirzev suddenly senses a chilling presence. He roars out a command for every demon to assemble immediately. Mirzev warns that a pure, concentrated evil is closing in on their location. Maya's father drops a bombshell. Last night's omen didn't just bring demons, it summoned the servants of God. And as the heroes tremble in fear, Mirzev warns they're almost here. They scream Abel's name at the top of their lungs, desperately calling out to their brother. Giselle steps out from the dark forest, and the moment Abel hears her voice, he spins around and stands completely paralyzed in shock. A mysterious hero begins his tale, recalling the blinding light of his birth and the instant realization that he was staring at his own creator. His father was the god Silpheim, a divine being now sealed away by a rival deity, waiting for the perfect moment to be reborn into the world. He was born into a sea of endless shadows, surrounded by a massive horde of entities he looked up to as his own older brothers. Their father commanded them to invade Earth and unleash total chaos for the lunar festival, all to seize the grimoire in time for his birthday. But while his brothers summoned monsters and leveled cities, this hero was weak, only able to manipulate the minds of the most fragile souls. He tried to tame a massive beast only to be nearly eaten alive. And even after possessing a lowly mage, He was almost hunted down and killed. Driven by a burning obsession, he was desperate to prove his worth to his father and show his brothers that he wasn't a failure. During his aimless travels, he stumbled upon Abel and watched from the shadows, realizing he had finally found the powerful warrior he needed. Abel was proving to be a tough nut to crack, so the hero started plotting a way to drag the mage over to his side. Realizing Abel's mind was an impenetrable fortress, the entity retreated into the shadows to hunt for a fatal flaw. The entity descends upon the Marlene clan's village, finding Giselle all alone and clutching a mysterious book. Suddenly, the hero spots the perfect opening to seize total control over the man's soul. The grimoire's visions vanish as Giselle steps out of the woods, leaving a shocked Abel demanding to know why she's there. When the party questions their connection, Abel reveals she's his little sister, leaving Maya absolutely stunned. Mercive senses a foul demonic aura bleeding from Giselle's book, and a panicked Abel fears his sister has been possessed. Giselle walks right up to the group, begging Abel for forgiveness for exiling him into the brutal wild. Clutching her heart, she swears she regrets the pain she caused him and insists that everything in the village has changed. With a beaming smile, she promises their father's forgiveness and reaches out, pleading for him to finally come home. Abel loses it and screams at Giselle to drop that lethal book before someone gets hurt. Giselle reveals Sim's magic warped her here, claiming the book's spirit insists their marriage is destiny. Maya's heart sinks as she hears Tuzel's words about marriage, staring at Abel in absolute disbelief. Without missing a beat, Giselle declares herself as Abel's one and only fiancée. Maya demands the truth from Abel while Mirzef roars, asking what this magician wants with his daughter. Giselle's face turns cold as she watches the tension flare between her brother and Maya. She snaps, demanding to know who Maya is, forcing Maya to turn and face her. Giselle interrogates her about her bond with Abel, leaving Maya completely speechless. Sim realizes he's hit the jackpot. The girl trailing Abel is actually Silfaheim's legendary grimoire. The spirit gleefully imagines winning the evil god's favor before locking his eyes on Giselle. He twists the girl's mind, promising they'll be together if she obeys his orders and ignores the girl by her side. Giselle demands to know who the girl is, leaving Abel speechless while Sim tries to force her to ignore the heroes. Giselle loses it, screaming the same question over and over as Sim struggles to beat her back into submission. Maya notices Giselle talking to thin air, but Abel explains his sister is likely conversing with the spirit inside that book. Mirzef senses the dark energy of Silfaham's minion, while Abel concludes this lesser demon can only manipulate the mind. Sim seethes with fury, feeling mocked by the siblings before he violently breaks his connection to the book. The book slips from Giselle's trembling hands as she loses her balance, leaving the heroes staring in total disbelief. The book slams into the dirt, and Giselle stands up in a haunting silence as the tension reaches a breaking point. Giselle's eyes shift as she bursts into a terrifying laugh, and Mirzef realizes a spirit has completely hijacked her body. Speaking through Giselle's lips, Sim declares that her body now belongs entirely to him. He bellows at Abel, demanding his total and absolute submission. The spirit mocks the mage, holding his sister's life over his head while Abel stands frozen in a silent, burning rage. Mirzef warns that they must act before Sim leaks Maya's location to the sky god, even if Giselle gets hurt. But as Abel tries to intervene, Giselle suddenly summons her doll. A massive mystical wooden totem manifests right above her head. The spirit possessing Giselle's body channels the raw, overwhelming essence of life itself. Pure energy explodes through her as she shatters the ground beneath her feet, launching a devastating high-speed assault. Giselle blurs toward the heroes with insane speed, leaving Mirzef and Abel paralyzed with total shock. In a flash, the spirit is right in Maya's face before she or the others can even blink. The spirit inside Giselle seizes control of Maya, casting a powerful enchantment that plunges her into a deep sleep. Maya's eyes flutter shut as she collapses right into Giselle's waiting arms. Abel watches in horror as the spirit buffs its body and pulls out a wooden doll, cackling that Giselle mastered every forbidden Marlene clan spell just to track him down. Sim sneers at Abel, demanding a total surrender now that he's holding 2 lives in the palm of his hand. If Abel wants to save those girls, he has to hand over his very soul and body to the monster. Suddenly, the Doom Clan members scream out for Maya. Mirzaf warns that if Maya falls, the Sky God's twisted plan is complete, forcing him to eliminate Giselle. But Abel refuses to let that happen. Abel shouts that Giselle is precious to him, questioning how a man who spent years hiding his own daughter could be so heartless. A reckless charge would kill Maya, but before Abel can act, Sim traps the girl inside a shimmering prismatic barrier. The malevolent spirit refuses to let go, keeping Maya firmly in its grasp. Abel knows he must rip Sim out of Giselle's body, But even with the World Tree's power, the spirit's enhanced speed will crush him before he can cast the spell. Abel's eyes lock onto the Giselle doll, realizing that neutralizing it is his only shot at victory. The spirit inside Giselle is out for blood, summoning a lethal gale to shred anyone standing in his way. Razor-sharp blades of wind scream through the air, slicing toward the demon horde. Maya's father slams a massive barrier into the ground, shielding his people from the incoming slaughter. Abel shouts the truth. That cursed totem is the only thing fueling Giselle's insane physical power. The mage realizes that if they shatter that relic, they can finally rip the evil spirit out of his sister. The Doom Clan leader roars a command, ordering every last one of his warriors to launch an all-out assault. A wave of bloodthirsty demons surges forward like a tidal wave of pure chaos. Sim slams his power into the ground, unleashing a devastating spell right beneath their feet. The earth explodes into a blinding storm of debris, but Mirzef streaks through the dust like a bolt of black lightning. He teleports right behind the totem to deliver a killing blow, but Sim just flashes a wicked, confident smirk. Maya's father walks straight into a lethal ambush. He's slammed into the dirt, his limbs shackled tight by glowing mystical rings. The spirit commands the very earth to erupt in a violent tectonic rage. This devastating spell sweeps across the battlefield, striking down every last demon in sight. Sim lets out a chilling laugh, mocking Abel for thinking he could sneak around and steal the totem to save those girls. Those cursed magic rings begin to constrict, slowly crushing the life out of Maya's father. The wicked spirit demands Abel's eternal loyalty, sending the hero into a blind, white-hot fury. The Marlene clan is still pushing forward, trekking through the treacherous and jagged mountain peaks. Philo snaps at Shivy for lagging behind, while Abel's father admits the tribe just isn't built for this grueling high-speed pace. He sighs as the brutal terrain drains their strength. But Philo screams that they're the only ones left who haven't abandoned Giselle. Abel's father is losing his mind, convinced his kids have gone insane for wandering this far, until a massive boom shatters the silence. The old man is paralyzed with confusion, but Philo knows that sound was a massive explosion, leaving Chevy screaming in terror at the horrors of the outside world. Philo rips through the thick brush, desperate to find the source of the blast. They reach the edge of a jagged cliff and look down to see a brutal war zone unfolding below. Mirzef is gasping for air as glowing magical rings crush the life right out of his chest. Sim demands to know Abel's next move, mocking that the idiot clan member is seconds away from death, but Abel begs the spirit to shut it. High above the carnage, Giselle's spectral soul watches the entire battle unfold with cold eyes. She's consumed by a single bitter thought. Why won't Abel just give her the recognition she deserves? She mastered every forbidden spell and even perfected the one technique Abel couldn't touch, yet he still refuses to acknowledge her power. A dark, uncontrollable fury begins to boil within Giselle's soul. Rage consumes her as she wonders why Abel won't even give her the time of day. Suddenly, Maya erupts into a piercing scream, forcing every hero to snap their heads toward her. Sim is stunned that Maya has a will of her own, and he desperately warns Giselle not to hurt her. Abel backs him up, but Sim insists that hunting Maya down is Giselle's one true obsession. In an instant, the magical rings imprisoning Mirzef completely vanish. The demon strikes with lethal, lightning-fast precision. Seeing Sim distracted, Abel strikes, unleashing a massive spell to purge the dark spirit from Giselle's body. Giselle hits the floor as the barrier breaks, and the fainted Maya falls right into her father's waiting arms. Abel's phantom form towers over Sim, swearing he won't let him find peace until he talks, before slamming him back into the book. Without wasting a single heartbeat, Abel rushes straight to Giselle. He rushes to her side, checking if she's okay, just as Giselle finally wakes up, sees her brother, and asks what happened. She confesses she was certain Abel would come home any second, but as time dragged on, her hope started to wither away. Fearing the worst for her brother, she jumped at Sim's offer to find him, leaving Abel absolutely crushed with guilt as he begs for her forgiveness. Abel reassures her that a demon preyed on the darkness in her heart and that she's completely innocent of any wrongdoing. Tuzel vows to drop the marriage demands if Abel just returns to the settlement, but Abel's expression turns grim. He begs his sister to forgive him, admitting that even without a wedding he can never go back, causing Giselle's eyes to widen in shock. Abel explains he's caught up in a dangerous high-stakes mission and promises to return once it's finished, though he has no idea when that will be, leaving Giselle absolutely astonished. His words barely register as she bites her lip, her mind racing with pure disbelief. Deep inside her, A furious rage bordering on total insanity begins to boil over. Convinced her brother is being manipulated because of his naive heart, Giselle snaps and bolts upright, determined to save him. She lunges for the cursed grimoire and snatches it up, chanting a desperate plea to the spirit trapped inside. Sin's shadowy figure looms over her as the abyss swallows the room, and Giselle demands his power, swearing she can control it better than he ever could. A blood-curdling, monstrous shriek rips out of Giselle's throat. Abel sprints toward her, desperate to stop the madness. Pure darkness consumes Giselle as a violent vortex of black magic erupts, leaving Abel stunned and terrified by the spirit's overwhelming, unsealed power. As her body mutates, she screams that her brother is a puppet being manipulated by the vultures preying on his good heart. Giselle weaves her fingers together, manifesting a sinister dark seal. She unleashes a devastating strike directly at Maya and her father. Merzef lunges forward and yanks Maya out of harm's way. The dark magic slams into the ground with a deafening explosion that shakes the very earth. Abel whips around in shock, realizing Giselle is firing off wordless magic, a terrifying sign that the evil spirit has completely hijacked her body. The Doom Clan warriors scramble to their feet, trembling as they demand to know what kind of freakish monster they're even fighting. Giselle's head snaps toward the noise just as Mirzef screams at the top of his lungs for his men to run for their lives. Abel slams down a massive wall of light, barely shielding the group from the devastating impact of Giselle's dark sorcery. Flashbacks of his brutal clash with Adelhide race through Abel's mind as he notices Giselle's magic circle looks hauntingly familiar. Merzef reveals the horrifying truth that magic is divine, and Giselle has fully devoured the power of a heavenly god. Abel fumes, cursing the demon for waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But Mirzef fires back that Giselle was the one who shattered the seal herself. Abel shouts that his sister would never do that, insisting she only fell to the demon because of her love for him. And while Maya backs him up, her father stays dead silent. Twisted, dark thoughts consume Giselle's mind as she starts believing the world should just vanish so she can be alone with her brother forever. Refusing to give up, Abel prepares to rip that evil spirit out of Giselle once and for all, and he calls on the Doom Clan to lend him their strength. Demons bolt in every direction to throw Giselle off her game, and she starts blasting anything that moves. Abel waits for the perfect opening, then teleports the totem right behind her in a flash. She whips around instantly and unleashes a devastating blast at the wooden doll. Giselle's magic incinerates the world tree totem, making Maya scream in horror as the villain grins, ready for more. She aims her next lethal strike directly at Maya and Abel. Father Mai lunges forward, grabbing them both just in time to dodge the explosion. Abel throws up a magical barrier to protect them, but Giselle keeps hammering it with spells while Mirzef warns that her soul is gone and he's not strong enough to stop her. The demon tells Abel he has to kill Giselle now, but Abel refuses to even consider it. Mirzef snaps at Abel for holding back, while Maya listens in pure terror as her father and friend argue. Without that totem, Abel realizes he can't save her body, meaning he'll have to unleash his ultimate sphere attack. But a strike like that would end Giselle's life, so Maya desperately asks if a second totem could save them. Maya remembers Abel crafting an earth totem during the beast hunt, but he snaps back that it was just basic magic. A true totem requires ancient, magic-infused timber. Trying to banish this demon with a totem is like cracking a high-level code with a basic calculator, especially now that Giselle's surging power makes the curse nearly unbreakable. Panic sets in as Abel realizes he's completely out of time and lacks the high-grade wood needed to forge a new totem. From the shadows, the Marlene clan watches the devastating battle unfold. Philo screams in terror at the nightmare hovering in the sky while Shivy locks eyes on Giselle and Abel. Abel hatches a desperate plan and orders Mirzef to draw her fire. As Giselle rains down magical destruction, Mirzef enhances his body and rockets into the air with a massive leap. Abel begins chanting the incantation with everything he's got. He prays his voice can reach Giselle through the chaos. Blinding pillars of light magic explode from Abel's twin seals, tearing through the darkness. The swirling vortex of shadows finally clears. Abel stares into the void, his heart racing as he searches for any sign of his sister. But the spell was a bust, and through the thick smoke, Giselle's demonic face emerges as she lunges for another strike. Abel desperately clings to his shield while Maya's father shrieks that they're all doomed. Maya screams his name as the mage pours every ounce of his soul into keeping that barrier from shattering. In a final act of desperation, he reaches out and begs the ancient forces for their power. Out of nowhere, a massive swarm of wooden totems manifests right behind Giselle's back. They might be crude, but Abel knows that their sheer numbers are enough to crush the evil spirit. With a roar, Abel commands the vile entity to get out out of his sister's body. A surge of raw magic explodes through the totems and wraps around Giselle, purging the darkness and sending her limp body plummeting from the sky. Abel unleashes a burst of wind magic to catch his falling sister. He rushes to her side, begging to know if she still recognizes his face. Giselle fights through the haze, barely clinging to consciousness. Her eyes meet his, and Abel lets out a sigh of pure, heartfelt relief. Abel admits he totally misjudged the demon's power, never dreaming it could hijack his sister's body so completely. Now, a floating shadow, Sim protests that Giselle was the one who stole his power, realizing these siblings are a nightmare even for a god. Mirzef spots a pile of strange totems and demands to know where they came from, only for Abel to reveal they're just wooden dolls from his home. With a grin, Abel cheers that his mentor actually heard the signal from the totems. Since the dolls had 0 mana for teleportation, Abel used high-frequency sound waves to vibrate the air and summon them. Back at the village, the headman and the locals are baffled by a bizarre piercing sound. Abel's mentor instantly recognized the signal and raced straight to the magician's home. Abel's mother revealed the mysterious totems hidden away inside the house. The mentor explained the plan. Abel sent word to teleport every single totem to the very edge of the country. Realizing time was running out, the village chief forged a massive teleportation seal to move the cargo. One-way transport burns through mana, but a two-way magic circle makes moving non-magical objects a breeze. The leader ignited the magic circle in the village as Abel waited on the other side to receive the goods. Abel thought back to his first sound devices. The boss doubted him until he proved they could transmit secret Morse code. The village only saw a simple alarm, but Abel dreamed of a mobile phone, speaking words his mentor couldn't even grasp. The old magician knew right then that Abel was destined for greatness far beyond their tiny clan. The feudal lord and his soldiers storm the battlefield with a roar, leaving Abel completely blindsided. A voice calls out Abel's name, and for a second the exhausted mage thinks he's hallucinating his own father's voice. But it's no illusion. His father, Philo, and Shivi are sprinting toward him, leaving a stunned Abel to demand what on earth they're doing there. The feudal lord demands to know what happened, but Abel can only offer a heartfelt apology and a vow to set things right. Merdzef snaps that there's no time for talk. With the Dark God's minion dead and the totems lost, they must race to the World Tree before it's too late. Abel begs the Lord for forgiveness one last time, swearing to fix everything once he completes his desperate mission to save the entire kingdom. He turns to his family with a look of pure determination, declaring that he must stop the god's resurrection at all costs. He warns them that he won't return home until the job is done, leaving his father standing there in a stunned, confused silence. Philo chimes in, reminding everyone that when you're dealing with the power of gods, all you can do is have faith. Giselle bites her lip, her face tightening with a surge of hidden emotion. Suddenly, she breaks down into hysterical sobs, leaving Abel, his father, and the rest of the group absolutely speechless. Philo reflects on the grueling years of study Giselle endured just to find her way back to Abel's side. Philo steps up and urges Abel to bring Kiel along for the ride. Giselle stands speechless as tears flood her eyes, while Philo reveals she's a magical prodigy who nearly rivals Abel's own power. She enthusiastically declares she's ready for the quest, but instead of being thrilled, Abel is completely floored. He turns toward his father, his mind racing as he weighs the gravity of the situation. Their father finally gives in, knowing they're too stubborn to listen anyway, and simply asks them to return safely once their mission is over. Giselle rushes to Abel's side, swearing that she'll be his greatest asset in the coming war against the gods. Abel sets the stakes, declaring that their very first move must be to take down the evil god. The mages and their crew charge into a brand new adventure, with Abel beaming as he realizes his work in this world is just beginning.